some of my troubles of not being the best teacher I could be with maybe planning or lesson plans, all these things. For me, it was almost like I guess a lot of NBA players, they call it like a revenge tour where they go against their old team.
I like it.
But for me,
coming back.
yeah, like I'm coming back.
Right.
My comeback tour. But
Yeah.
for me, it was just to come back and continue to improve my craft. Like you said, although we're here and we're talking about our journey, we're still very new. And every day, a matter of fact, I'm still learning something new.
The District 5 School-Related Employee of the Year from Rochelle School of the Arts, Tiffany Berrien.
My motto is student first, athlete second, because I've been in their shoes before, and I know what it takes now that I'm older and mature. So I just try to instill in them that it's fun to be a kid. It's fun to go to school. It's fun to be around your family. The sports is just an extra tool. I just like to love on them, just be a good mentor and instill leadership, life lessons, something that they could take with them the rest of their life.
She instills grades first before the actual sport. She instills family before the kid. You know, she tries to get that mentality of like, it's not just about you, it's about your last name, not your first name. And I think that's really something that maybe they're not used to hearing. They're all about me, me, me. And she's like, no, step back. It's about your family, it's about your grades, and then it's about what you want to do and what you want to accomplish.
Coach Tiffany is a really great part of our school. She is a tremendous asset at our PE department, in our library, in our cafeteria. She just gets all over the campus and she helps us in so many places. She always does it with a smile on her face, and she's always willing to help out. And if she has to step into a classroom to assist, she is welcomed by the kids, and everybody's always so glad to see her.
She's a good person overall, and she makes me feel good about myself. She makes me want to try harder, stuff like that. She really encourages me to do my best and do better at things. She's a really good person, and I love her personally. I really do. And she's a very important person to me.
I want them to remember me as she's tough, but it's out of love. They know behind the smiles when it's time to get serious. When I go coach mode, PE mode, I'm serious because I know what it takes. And just take that. It's out of love, and one day down the road you will understand and you'll come back and say, because of Coach Tiffany, this is why.
Working for Polk County Public Schools as a bus driver or bus attendant is just a small yet important part of what we do to serve our students. We want to thank all the unsung heroes of our driving force. Our dedicated trainers assist every day with educating new drivers and bus attendants, preparing them to be the best they can be. Trainers shine in assisting new hires to become safe and efficient drivers, and they teach bus attendants the essentials of their daily responsibilities. It's more than a job. Our CPR trainers and instructors teach life-saving skills, keeping everyone's certification up to date with continual training. Trainers help with CDL licensing, making sure candidates know the ins and outs of a bus, preparing them to take and pass the commercial driver's license test. Putting our students' safety first is always our top priority. The transportation team thanks everyone for their hard work and the dedication that they give to make sure the job is done. The training department would not be where we are today if it wasn't for the devotion of our trainers. If you are a dedicated, responsible, respectful, patient person with a positive attitude and a desire to help others succeed, then you are exactly who we are looking for in a trainer. Please contact the training department if you are interested in making a positive difference in someone's life.
There was a veteran teacher, and she kept saying, you need to write this grant, you need to write this grant. You're already doing the things in your classroom. You can just get the money to do it, because we normally just pay for it out of pocket.
Right.
Teachers are really good at using their own money, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. But just, you do it. You just like type up the words, and what is the worst thing they're gonna say? No.
Exactly.
The District 4 Teacher of the Year from Karen M. Siegel Academy, Ashley Brannon.
Every student is so different, and you know, a lot of our students are nonverbal, so we have to find different ways in order to get them to communicate. So, I mean, here, when you give a lesson, it's so much more than just teaching the standards. Obviously, that's very, very important, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. We incorporate communication, social emotional strategies, and also just learning how to handle emotions. Everything here is about incorporating all of those things so we can get them to be as independent as possible.
Ashley is a tremendous resource for all of our teachers here. And for me specifically, she's been wonderful because she's somebody that I can go to, and I know that when I ask her a question, she's always going to come back with an answer. Even if she doesn't have the answer right away, that's what I like about her.
When we first met her, I remember interviewing her, we just felt that kind heart that she had from the very beginning. And once you put her in the room with the students, she immediately just lights up. It's not something that you can fake. The students know if you're not being authentic with them, and that's why they're so drawn to her.
It brings joy to our classrooms. When she comes in, she's always happy. When we need something, she's Johnny on the spot right there to bring us what we need, or to lend a hand. And her enthusiasm is contagious.
I like she's sweetheart. Congratulations. I love you.
I think it's unfortunate that a lot of our students can sometimes hear that they can't do something just because of their disability, but that's so far from the truth. If anyone spent any time at all with these students, they would know how capable they are. So it's very important that special education gets put to the forefront because these students are amazing. They can do anything that a gen ed student can. We just have to find the way to help them get there.
You have to own who you are. You have to own your feelings. And when our feelings, situations get the best of us, we're not realizing what we're portraying.
Right, right. because you're deep in that emotion.
Yes.
Right, and it's very real. Whatever experience is fueling that, and then what experiences then are we creating for our students who are experiencing us acting out like that?
If you would join me in standing for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance, and would Bishop Willie Mincy come to give our invocation?
Bow our heads. Kind Father, in Jesus' name, we are so thankful for the gift of this another day. Lord Jesus, you have been so good to us, and you're good to us right now. Thank you, O God, for the privilege to be gathered together in this room tonight. Thank you, O God, for this board. Thank you for Superintendent. Thank you for his staff. Thank you, O God, for every teacher, every principal, every para, every lunchroom worker, every bus driver, everyone that make up this district. We thank you for them. We thank you for all of the students and all of their families. Lord Jesus Christ, look upon us tonight. We come seeking you for help. For you told us in all our ways to acknowledge you, and you would direct our path. I pray, oh God, for this board, that the decisions that will be made will be a blessing to our children and our children's children. Be with us tonight, and be with us in all that we do, and let everything bring glory and honor and praise to your wonderful name. We ask these blessings tonight in the name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen. And could I have Cohen Booth come and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated, except for Cohen. Not so fast. I told you were going to get to hang out with us for a little bit. All right, Cohen, so how old are you?
10.
You're 10, and what grade are you in?
5th.
5th, and where do you go to school?
Kathleen Elementary.
Very nice. All right, and what do you want to be when you grow up?
A CSI.
Nice. Very cool. I see in this that you love building STEM kits and robotics with your dad. That is awesome. So, do you have people here with you tonight?
Yeah.
Yes, who's here with you?
My mom and my principal.
Your mom and your principal. Can they stand up and you introduce them to us? Awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here. All right, Cohen, last question. What's your favorite subject in school?
Math.
Math? Awesome. Well, thank you so much for leading us in the pledge tonight, and you can go back and sit down. All right, our first action item is to accept the school board agenda. Superintendent Hyde, do we have any revisions?
No, Madam Chair, there are no revisions.
I think, did Bella Cita get moved?
I apologize. Bella Cita got moved from consent to action.
Thank you. So that is now Q4, I believe.
Correct.
All right, and I will hear a motion and a second for approving the school board agenda.
Move to approve. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. All right, and our next order of business is special recognitions. Superintendent Hyde, would you like to lead us through special recognitions?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, members of the board, members of the community and staff, it's my pleasure this evening. First, I'd like to begin by asking school board member Dr. William Allen to step down to assist us with special recognitions this evening. Simultaneously, I'd like to ask for Ms. Susan Copeland, Executive Director for the Polk Education Foundation, to also come forward for donor recognition.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight I have with me Nick Plott from TECO Energy. He is their Externals Affairs Manager. I'm sure most everyone knows him on the board. TECO's been a longtime partner of the school district. They've sponsored our About Face and our Teacher of the Year, which now is our Inspire Awards, for at least my tenure with the foundation, which has been 25 years. And I'm sure it started even before that. I would be willing to bet that they also partner with individual schools and other departments, so I know they do things in the community. For the Education Foundation, TECO Energy has sponsored our Stepping Out for Education program since it started 11 years ago, and I hope every time you see Nick, you will encourage him to be a celebrity dancer, because I keep asking, and he said one day he will, so just help me with that, please. And they also continually sponsor our Take Stock in Children golf tournament, which, as you all know, is a great investment because the monies are all matched. Nick also serves his time on the PEF board. After opening a check in the mail just today, the total given for all programs that I've mentioned over the last 2 decades is just over $165,000. So 2 words, clap for that. 2 words come to mind for me when I think of TECO. It is generous and consistent. As you heard, they've been with the school district and the Education Foundation a very, very long time. So I brought Nick here tonight to thank him publicly and to have him presented with a certificate of appreciation. Thank you for allowing us to be here.
Thank you. And now at this time, I'd like to ask our Communications Director, Jason Geary, to please come. He will assist us in recognizing our longest-serving employees from the Inspire Awards.
Thank you, school board members, for allowing me to present the Longevity Awards to 2 outstanding employees. Each of these young ladies has devoted more than 4 decades of their lives to Polk County Public Schools. Catherine Mack is the longest-serving Teacher of the Year among this year's Inspire Award nominees. Ms. Mack has served 42 years with Polk County Public Schools and is the Teacher of the Year at Crystal Lake Elementary. She is knowledgeable, passionate, caring, and a servant leader to her students and peers. On any given day, you can find Ms. Mack helping fellow teachers learn new strategies and best practices so they can improve their classroom instruction. She frequently meets with parents to update them on their child's progress. She is willing to stay past school hours to accommodate a parent's work schedule because she knows that fostering positive relationships with students' families promotes success. There is no limit to what she will do to help a child succeed. She lives by the phrase, by any means necessary, and is committed to her school's mission and vision that every child matters and can succeed. Betty Goldwire is the longest-serving school-related employee for this year's Inspire Award honorees. Ms. Goldwire has worked for Polk County Public Schools for 41 years As an ESE paraeducator at Southwest Middle, she always strives to provide students with the support and resources they need to be successful in the classroom. No matter what tasks or assignments she is given, Ms. Goldwire commits herself to doing her best and focuses on helping students reach their full potential. Whether assisting with small group instruction, working one-on-one with a struggling reader, or assisting students with disabilities, or collaborating with teachers to determine strategies and resources that may benefit a student's learning, she is always willing to help. It is my pleasure to present Ms. Mack and Ms. Goldwire tonight with commemorative clocks as a token of our appreciation for all of their hard work and commitment to Polk County's students. I would also like to give them a chance to say a few words, if you don't mind.
Thank you.
Ms. Mack.
Thank you very much for this recognition. I've taught a long time because I love what I do. And actually, I have no plans to retire anytime soon. So I'm in it for a lot longer, I hope.
Good afternoon. I just want to say I am honored to receive this award, and I count it an honor and a privilege to have served our school, our community, because of what was instilled in me, and I just want to share what I have learned.
At this time, I'd like to ask Dr. Joshua Lutz, Assistant Superintendent for Learning Support, to come forward to recognize our outstanding educator in education and rehabilitation of the blind and visually impaired.
Good evening, everyone. Bobby, you come on up. You have any family here with you? The Vision team? The Vision team, raise your hands. All right, there's your support. I want to highlight this by telling you all that I had to find out that Bobby received this award from one of her coworkers because she was so humble that she didn't even tell me about it. And one of her coworkers had to email me. And I'd like to read you that email. The email says, Dr. Lutz, I know that you like to hear of the great things that the ESE staff in Polk are doing, and I wanted to share this news with you. Roberta Bobby Daly, lead teacher of students with visual impairments, was named the Outstanding Educator for the Florida Association for Education and Rehabilitation of the Blind and Visually Impaired. That is a long name. She was given the award via a virtual meeting during their conclusion ceremonies. She was nominated by the Florida Instructional Materials Center for the great work that she does for our students throughout the school system and through the Lighthouse for the Blind. One quote from a member says, Bobby has spent her entire professional career working with and supporting students with visual impairments. She has been a leader in the field in both the school system and with the Lighthouse. She has worked tirelessly to improve the lives of all of her students, as well as the teachers that she works with and supports. As a co-worker and most recent teacher in this program, I would also like to add that Bobby has been and is the best support to our team. Her knowledge of the vision department is our greatest asset, as she is always up to date on state, county, and even individual school rules. She does all of our initial evaluations and is the primary contact for our program. It is such an honor to be able to work with her, and I hope that her receiving this award brings to light that the ESE staff in Polk go above and beyond to serve the students in our county. Congratulations, Bobby.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you for recognizing me. This is my 28th year in Polk, and I've served my whole career in vision, and we have a wonderful vision team. We're very different. We're like the low prevalence in the district, but we love our students.
How about
And
the vision team stand up?
okay, you guys stand up back there, all the vision people. Woo! We're missing a couple, but just thank you so much for the recognition. I appreciate it very much.
Bobby?
Oh,
I don't know if you remember from...
I do.
Okay. I had the pleasure and honor of teaching one of Vision student, I won't say her name, but God, I learned so
Blind.
much from you and her, and I believe she's a teacher now, is she not?
Well, she was she has 2 master's degrees, and she was the assistive technology person at a community college in Ohio for a while, but she's back here now. But
Got it. Yeah, it was awesome.
very successful girl. Yeah.
Yeah, she's hired. Yeah.
Polk County's hiring.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. We sure know.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to ask Jeffrey Hancock, Senior Director of K-12 Science, to please come forward to present the Guy Harvey Ocean Foundation recognition. And Jeff, please explain a little bit about the program, if you don't mind.
I'm going to let Ms. Bergness do that here in a
Perfect.
second. I just want to say, Cohen, science fair, 6th grade. Finally, we're good. Don't worry about the math stuff. I want to thank, first of all, Ms. Wickman and Ms. Fogel. They're my curriculum specialists. They're the ones that make this really happen. I just give them a way to go, and they figure out the way to make things happen. So I want to introduce Ms. Betty Bergness. She is our partner with the Guy Harvey Ocean Foundation, and she will explain what that is and what we are presenting the board with tonight.
Good evening, Madam Chair, distinguished board members, and Superintendent Hyde. My name is Betty Bergness, and I'm the Director of Education for the Guy Harvey Ocean Foundation. The Guy Harvey Ocean Foundation is a nonprofit organization that conducts scientific research and hosts educational programs aimed at conserving the marine environment. We are dedicated to research, education, and conservation to help ensure that future generations can enjoy and benefit from a naturally balanced ocean ecosystem. The Guy Harvey Ocean Foundation is thrilled to have the opportunity to partner with your school district. We are offering environmental curriculum and the support for your teachers. Dr. Harvey is committed to providing school districts with high-quality marine science and environmental science curriculum, as well as teacher experiences so they can share and inspire their students. We have had a wonderful experience working with your curriculum department and your teachers. To show our appreciation for our partnership, we would like to present Polk County Public Schools with this framed Guy Harvey lithograph. You could put it somewhere in your building so everybody could see it. We look for, thank you. And we look forward to continuing to support your school district as we dive into the future. Thank you.
I just want to say Betty did a wonderful job. She came out and trained our marine science teachers for high school. We had relatively little curriculum for them to use because there's just not a lot out there. So the Guy Harvey Foundation has voluntarily given us that curriculum, which we have now trained all of our marine science teachers. And we had an awesome opportunity with Betty and Mr. Harvey's daughter that was also a part of that training. So it was pretty amazing, pretty good stuff we got going on. Thank you for allowing us to do that.
Thank you. At this time, would Chandra Hall, the Senior Director for Equity and Diversity, come forward for Black History Month recognition? And also, would School Board Member Lori Cunningham please read the proclamation?
Proclamation. School Board of Polk County, Bartow, Florida. Whereas February, Black History Month, is a time to set aside to celebrate the immeasurable contributions of African American citizens and their roles in shaping American history. Whereas Polk County Public Schools continue to acknowledge and celebrate, no matter the month, the many contributions and sacrifices made by African Americans of the past and present, while inspiring students and staff to create historical moments for our future. And whereas Polk County Public Schools serve over 107,000 students and employ over 13,000 employees, we recognize that African American students make up 20% and employees 17% of our population respectively, and they are making contributions toward history today, tomorrow, and whereas the Polk County School District continues to educate, produce, and celebrate African American educators, educational leaders, doctors, lawyers, engineers, soldiers, artists, and many others who have demonstrated extraordinary courage, talent, and service to our schools, as well as our community and our nation. And whereas, now therefore be it resolved by the School Board of Polk County, Florida, that we designate and close out the month of February 2022 as Black History Month.
So thank you to the board, Superintendent Hyde, and all of our panelists in their respective places. As we close out Black History Month, I am so respectfully and humbly reminded that Black History Month is also American History Month. All right. Thank you to all those that take the opportunity to offer all of our staff and students mirrors and windows. And when I say mirrors and windows, that's given us an opportunity to see ourselves in the history and the lives of others, as well as see others. So diversity makes us so very rich as a community and a nation. And for that, I'm forever grateful, and I'm sure you all are too. I would like to take this time to present the proclamation to Mr. Jj Corbett. Mr. Corbett is a representation of Black history right here in our community. He has made immeasurable contributions, not only in our community, but nationwide. He started, I wouldn't say he started, but started from being an educator, a school board member, and most importantly, he served in the U.S. Army. And I got to get this right. Y'all might have to help me on this one. He served in the 555th Infantry,
Yeah, the 555.
also known as the Triple Nickel, in World War II.
Yes.
Mr. Corbett, we pay tribute and we honor you today, and I would like to present this proclamation to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Would you
you.
like to say a few words?
Again, I want to thank you for this honor. So often they ask me, JJ, how did you make it this far? I tell them not what I did. It's not the prayers that my mother did. It's not the prayers from my church. But it was that man, looked like was always beside me. Looked like he had nails in his hand before and spikes in his feet. That's why I think I'm still here. Thank you again for the honor. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Ms. Fields.
Mr. Corbett is one of my heroes. And I get so emotional when I see him because I know that he made it possible for me and others to be where we are today. And I can't thank him enough. And I'm so happy that he's being honored during Black History Month. And hopefully we've got some young people in the audience that can see, doesn't matter where you come from, as long as you know where you're going. And Mr. Corbett definitely knows where he's going. And we are just so thankful that we saw fit to recognize him. So, Mr. Corbett, you are my hero, and I love you very much, and we thank you for everything that you have done and will continue to do for our community. Thank you.
And last but certainly not least, with Dr. Lakira Nottage, Senior Coordinator for 6 through 12 Counseling Services, and Deidre Skaggs, Senior Coordinator for K through 8 Counseling Services, please come forward for National School Counseling Week recognition.
Proclamation. Whereas school counselors are employed in public and private schools to help students reach their full potential, and whereas school counselors are actively committed to helping students explore their abilities, strengths, interests, and talents as these traits relate to career awareness and development. And whereas school counselors help parents focus on ways to further the educational, personal, and social growth of their children. And whereas school counselors work with teachers and other educators to help students explore their potential and set realistic goals for themselves. And whereas school counselors seek to identify and utilize community resources that can enhance and complement comprehensive school counseling programs and help students become productive members of society. And whereas comprehensive developmental school counseling programs are considered an integral part of the educational process that enables all students to achieve success in school. Therefore, we, the Polk County School Board, do hereby proclaim February 7th through 11th, 2022 as National School Counseling Week.
Thank you all so much. It's such an honor and a privilege to be here with all of you all. You've supported school counselors. We love our school counselors. They're awesome. I mean, they are awesome. And we celebrated school counseling last week. A lot of schools did a lot of things, but the reason I'm here, I wanted to go over the program of study of school counselors. Because, you know, we talk about school counselors, we see school counselors, but do we really know what they've studied in their program of study? Now, I have a folder for each one of y'all, and I've used USF, not because I am biased towards that. Both of my girls went to Florida State. I went to Kentucky. Then they went to UCF, my daughters, and I went to USF for my ed leadership. So it's just a very, and it just had a better layout, okay? So on here, and I'm not going to go through all of these, but look how many classes are in school counseling. There's 63 hours. It's a very challenging program, 63. And of all of those classes, only 2 are not related to counseling. So our counselors, they love to help our students. They love to work with our parents. And so much, the schools love them. We had 4 that was nominated for Teacher of the Year. We had Nancy Reynolds from Floral Avenue. We had Sarah, that was yours. And then you also had Beth Rao. That's yours. And then William, we had 2 from yours. We had Jenny Aranda and Amy from Medela. And then we had Amy Benningfield, which is one of LaQuaria had 2, I had 2 from the School of Arts, Harrison School of Arts. So I have just given you all a little bit of what school counselors do. Not only do we help with all of the crisis, we're the first line of defense at that school for kids. And I can tell you, I have been a counselor 33 years in Polk County. I love my job. But school counselor, the students need someone there at the school that they can talk to. We work with anxiety. We work with test-taking strategies. We work with all of those skills that students need with the mental wellness. but we also work on those soft skills. I read that the Fortune 500 companies and Forbes, you know, the kids are graduating, but they're sending them back because they don't have those soft skills. They don't know how to get along. They don't know how to finish the job. They don't know how to problem solve. So counselors are also teaching that, and we're teaching careers, academic achievement, and personal social. So we love it. And LaQuaria?
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you to all of the board members and Superintendent Hyde for taking the time to recognize the hard work of our school counselors here in Polk County Public Schools. We currently have approximately 70 elementary school counselors and about 150 secondary school counselors that we serve. Many people are familiar with the term guidance counselor. However, the American School Counselor Association has advocated to change that name to school counselor. Many people don't know the difference between a guidance counselor and a school counselor. The name change represents a more accurate reflection of this unique role. The evolution from guidance counselor to school counselor highlights the transition from being reactive and isolated professionals to being proactive, data-driven leaders that collaboratively support the school's mission and vision. School counselors impact student success by providing equitable services for all students in the areas of academic achievement, personal development, and college and career preparation. Speaking of college and career preparation, you all are invited on March 10th to our district's first annual College and Career Fair. We normally have a college fair. This year we will be incorporating careers into that fair for all of our students and families. Monique Bird is here. She will be taking the lead on that project. Also, Veronica Kirby serves in our department here at the district office. And on behalf of our department, we want to say thank you. School counselors have been affectionately referred to as the heartbeat of the school. That's because we're not just cafeteria monitors. We're not just schedule changers, but we are life changers. Thank you on behalf of Polk County Public Schools, the school counseling department, and all of our elementary and school counselors in secondary schools.
Let me say one more thing. LaQuaria and I and Veronica are on the Florida School Board Association. We love counseling so much, you know, so we're trying to help in that. And we have a great leader, Ann Everett. Stand up, Ann. She said, I don't want to steal your all's thunder. She is wonderful. She helps us with everything that we need, and thank you for being a great boss.
Don't we have 2 award winners?
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, William.
Madam Chair, that concludes special recognitions for today's meeting.
Thank you. And I do think we wanted to make one more special recognition because our special recognitions coordinator is celebrating her birthday today. So, Marissa Green, will you please stand up and give us a wave? Happy birthday. All right, the next item on our agenda is public comments for items on the agenda, as adopted at the start of this meeting. Before we begin, I would like to welcome the public and go over our public comment process and opportunities for this evening. We will have 2 opportunities for public comment. The first will be for the items on this evening's agenda to be voted upon. At the end of the meeting, we will have an additional opportunity for public comment items that are not on this evening's agenda. To register to speak, community members must fill out a speaker card in the lobby prior to the meeting. All speakers will be given 3 minutes. The clock will give you a warning sound when you have 1 minute left and when you have 30 seconds left. Please give your name for the record. All comments should be directed to myself as the board chair. As a reminder, public comments are an opportunity for us to hear your thoughts and comments. This is not a question and answer session. However, if you are seeking additional information, I encourage you to contact any of us or the superintendent's office outside of board meetings, and we would be happy to have deeper conversations. And first will be Royal Brown III, and on deck is Glenda White.
Good evening. My name is Royal Brown III. I live at 3851 Gaines Drive, Winter Haven, and I'm president of the Winter Haven 912 group. I'm here to speak about Nearpod, the $860,000 software program on tonight's agenda as item 9, or P, consent agenda. I spoke about the critical race theory and surrogates embedded in Nearpod at the school board meeting on December 14th, and I've watched the videos of the 2 January work sessions where it was discussed in great detail, including the 45-minute segment on the January the 11th. The Nearpod executives assured you that mapping out of CRT to meet state standards would be done, and that all material provided at its core was vetted and filtered to ensure no embedded CRT. Superintendent Hyde stated that we will then own the responsibility of training and ensuring the staff understand what the limitations are for the curriculum and what is not. I reviewed the posted description of Nearpod under the agenda item details on your website and looked at the sales order. I found no words guaranteeing that Nearpod would not contain critical race theory or its surrogates of a different name. I called and talked to Mr. Hancock and asked him if there were any written policy that guarantees there will be no material within Nearpod that facilitates the teaching and learning of critical race theory or its surrogates. His reply was there was no written policy, but they follow a protocol to ensure programs are aligned with state standards for teaching and learning. They haven't seen anything in Nearpod that doesn't allow its use. We discussed the Nearpod app, iCivics, and he mentioned it was the gold standard for teaching civics approved by the FDOE. To that, let me remind all that Governor DeSantis vetoed a bill, SB 146, which included active civics as a way to insert critical race theory into curriculum. It was designed to forward civic literacy education, which in fact was a stealth effort to gain course credit for student political protests and lobbying, invariably for leftist causes, and would have easily allowed CRT to creep into the education system. So, folks, my bottom line is this. Nearpod can be used as a portal to criminal race theory and surrogates if you choose to purchase it. Therefore, I strongly recommend you write and publish a clearly worded policy that Nearpod will not be used to teach or learn about critical race theory or its facsimile surrogates like learning for justice, tolerance learning, and active civics. We, the public stakeholders, including parents and grandparents of children enrolled in PCSD and others concerned with public education, would appreciate such a guarantee in writing. Thank you.
Thank you. Glenda White, and on deck is Elizabeth Ramuson. And I'm so sorry I mispronounced your name.
Good evening. My name is Glenda White. I'm a Winter Haven resident. Regarding consent agenda K, item P, I believe that's right, I appreciate Polk County Schools installing air purifiers in the classrooms. The cost seems prohibitive at $1,400 per classroom. However, after researching what the system is capable of, I see it will likely destroy black mold and other harmful airborne problems. If we happen to have another pandemic, we won't need to close down our schools, wear a mask, and other nonsense that did more harm than good. Regarding consent agenda Q, items 2 and 3, I'm concerned about the approval of Nearpod software. Although the cost per student isn't prohibitive when compared with the service period, there's no guarantee that services won't be extended, which would result in high costs for Polk County schools. But more importantly, we've seen no written policy on oversight should CRT be infused into learning curriculum through Nearpod. The board should not approve this software until we have such writing in place and easily viewed by the public. I'm also concerned about the purchase of Legends of Learning software, which is item 3. I understand the software is currently in use, but I went to the company website and the parent company to research and couldn't find actual curriculum info without signing up. I went to their leadership tab and found that many educational board members are directly connected to China, originator and spreader of COVID, and at least one board member who specializes in CRT teaching methods. Until we can see in writing that there has not been, nor will there be, any CRT material in use within this software and a written oversight policy, the board should reject this purchase. The board should also provide learning outcomes from use of this software before purchasing it again. Regarding consent agenda item N and 1, I question the extension of the MetaSource Services program. The fact that the COVID pandemic is over and the CDC admitted that testing does not work and cannot detect COVID from the common cold makes these services obsolete. Use this funding to assist kids to undo the psychological damage done to them by unnecessary restrictions forced on them during the pandemic. I commend the school board and Mr. Hyde for pulling 16 books in question off library shelves while they are under review. I have submitted to board members reports on 7 of these books from the Florida Citizens Alliance. Each of these books openly violates Florida law protecting children pornography and inappropriate materials. Should you read these reports, you will not find them pleasant reading. You should permanently remove these from Polk County school libraries immediately. You and all citizens may obtain the full pornography report at the Florida Citizens Alliance website. Thank you.
Thank you. Elizabeth Rasmussen. And then on deck is Bobby Dees. And I'm so sorry, Elizabeth, I keep butchering your last name.
It's okay. It's Elizabeth Rasmussen.
Rasmussen.
But thank you, Chairwoman Wyatt and school board members. I hope you're having a good evening so far. My name is Elizabeth Rasmussen, and I'm a high school social studies teacher in the International Baccalaureate program at Bartow High School. I'm also a PhD candidate in curriculum instruction with a concentration in social science education at the University of South Florida. I know the district has made a pledge to transition to one-to-one electronic devices over the next school year. I'm extremely excited about this transition as it will help Polk County students have better access to the digital tools they need to succeed in college and careers in the 21st century. Over my 14 years in education, I have utilized a vast number of strategies and tools to help promote student engagement. One of these resources that has become integral to my instruction is the web software program Nearpod. I first discovered Nearpod around 3 years ago in one of my doctoral classes on educational technology, where I was gifted a Nearpod instructional account. Since that time, I have used it for countless lessons in order to promote student engagement. Nearpod is the very definition of effective formative assessment. It allows students to complete mini assessments and for teachers to give the same time feedback. It's also creative and fun. Students can explore the remains of the Berlin Wall through a virtual reality tour, collaborate with each other on a writing prompt in real time, or even use their artistic talent to draw a response to a lesson. The possibilities for interactive learning and formative assessment are endless with a program like Nearpod. I urge the board to pass the funding for this educational software program so all educators in Polk County will have access to it. If anyone on the board has any questions about Nearpod, I'd be happy to answer them to the best of my ability. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Bobby Dees. Next up is Bobby Dees, and on deck is Marilyn Taylor.
Hi, my name is Bobby Dees. Tonight I'd like to address a couple of concerns regarding the use of funding for MetaSource. I am recommending that you not approve the use of these funds for the following reasons. First, the COVID pandemic is over. There is no longer need for these services. It has already been proven that children were never at risk from COVID, and the CDC has already admitted that their tests do not work.
Excuse me, if you are speaking over the speaker, we will have you removed from the room. Please allow the speaker at the mic time to talk. Thank you. You may continue. Please add 10 seconds to the clock.
These tests have never been able to determine COVID from the common flu. There is no longer a mask or vaccine mandate in the state of Florida. These funds are better used elsewhere in areas where our schools or children were affected by the pandemic. The psychological damage that was done to our kids by the isolation, the lack of social interaction can never be measured. I heartily recommend that the school system spend resources directly addressing these issues and help our kids get back to a more normal state of mind. The damage done to our children by government mandates that should never have undertaken is immeasurable. Additionally, regarding learning support, I want to thank the school board for pulling 16 books from the shelves of Polk school libraries to review them. I have reviewed 5 of the Florida Citizens Alliance reports from this list and have supplied each of you with a copy of the report. You will find upon review of these reports that there are clear violations of the statutes regarding protecting children from pornography. Please prepare yourself to be shocked upon reviewing these reports. I encourage and ask you to remove these and the other books on the list from Polk school library shelves. They all contain clear violations of Florida law as listed on the front page of every report. They are obviously harmful to our children. I encourage you to go to the Florida Citizens Alliance website to review this entire report and read the offensive information and passages from every book they have reviewed and found to be harmful to our kids. Please protect our kids and save them from further psychological damage. Review these books and begin reviewing more of these books. There are plenty of excellent books available that can address every subject without sexualizing and harming our kids. And personally, I'd like to add, if you read this book, the Holy Bible, you'd understand why we have laws that protect our kids from this sort of thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Marilyn Taylor, and on deck is Susan Jameson. Ms. Taylor?
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening. My name is Marilyn Taylor. I am a retired professor and attorney. I have doctorates in Spanish and law. I taught political science, law, Spanish, justice studies. I'm not here to impress you, but I just want you to know my background. I was delighted to hear the proclamation on Black History Month. That's what the Nearpod curriculum begins with. And I hope that everyone takes seriously the content of that, and also the statement that was made that Black history is American history. People from my generation began with a really misguided view of history. Happy slaves, equal opportunity for all. I would refer you, if you're not familiar, this was a shocker for me. There's a wonderful book called Lies My Teacher Told Me, Everything Your American History Textbooks Got Wrong by James Lowen, for an eye-opening view of what the distorted and uncomfortable truth hidden in traditional American history textbooks. As I used to teach in my classes, America at its inception was truly a country of equality, a bastion of freedom for white property-owning males. Fortunately, our notion of equality has evolved, and the teaching of history needs to reflect that evolution, not to be a whitewashed version of the truth. We need to inform the students of this generation about the injustices of their forebearers. Otherwise, those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. I know the law, and I know that the Nearpod software's design has the intention to get it right. I am here to support knowledge and the full and complete exposure to diverse cultures and vantage points for our students. As with the case of the Nearpod software, the right to maintain books on all subjects is critical to a free society. Book banning, frankly, summons up the Salem witch trials. I hope that this board will support an open approach to knowledge and reject the dangerously closed-minded approach to banning books. As Voltaire said, I disagree with what you say, but will fight to the death your right to say it. Only in an atmosphere of free exchange of ideas can we prepare our students for the future.
Thank you. Susan Jamison. Susan Jamison is up next, and then Stephanie Stidham is on deck.
I'm a trained mental health therapist, and I've also taught language arts and math both in Florida and in Virginia. I've reviewed the Nearpod system, and I'd like to speak about it. There are technical issues which probably have caused it to have some lower reviews, but these are likely to be worked on right now. However, when you sift through the reviews, the teachers are enthusiastic about it, and that's all that we should listen to with the teachers. What I found to be most important is that it's interactive. It's very difficult to hold attention of many students, so this type of program is important. Another crucial element is it gives immediate feedback. We need to engage our students, and I'm sure that students would be interested in experiences like taking tours of the national parks, of visiting other countries, and thus expanding their horizons. As a therapist, I was excited that it addresses social issues such as empathy, cyberbullying, internet safety, social justice. Some people misconstrue these social skills and respect for all. They think it's scary. These skills have been lumped together, and sometimes they're called critical race theory. This critical race theory is a talking point of some politicians and of some pundits. Critical race theory is not taught in Nearpod, and is actually not taught in any middle or high school in the country. It's a graduate level course. It's taught in colleges and in law schools. And it's taught to examine injustice that's mostly seen in our judicial system. Another extremely important focus in Nearpod is teaching citizenship. It's amazing that kids don't understand the workings of our country. We need to be informed about our government to hold on to our freedom. There's much talk today about freedom. People want the freedom to be vaccinated or not, the freedom to wear masks or not. Our country allows freedom, but to be truly free, we need to be informed. If we are not, we are doomed to repeat histories from our past. A mistake that we're talking about currently is banning some books. It's actually taking away our individual freedom. If we get informed, we know that, for instance, in 1982, the Supreme Court in Island Tree School District versus Pico.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you. Stephanie Stidham. And then on deck is Maureen Miller.
My name is Stephanie Stidham. 4243 Marquise Avenue in Mulberry, Florida. I'm a parent here within the district. I have 3 children of elementary and high school ages, and I bring to you the concerns of many parents regarding the circumvention of established policy with regards to the removal of books from our library system and the concerning influence on the board by groups with roots in far-right extremism, many of whose members do not have school-age children, but do have a clear agenda. The basis for the removal of these books from our libraries and the decrying of Nearpod as a tool only to promote CRT are not as stated in the interest of protecting our children or promoting freedom and upholding the rule of law, but rather the cause of furthering racist and anti-LGBTQIA+ agendas and sentiments within our schools, and the whitewashing and sanitizing of our history in the interest of rampant white nationalism. Many of those against Nearpod don't even understand what CRT is, except for propaganda given to them by these far-right extreme groups. It's very emotional for me because this is an area that is dangerous. These are proto-fascist groups. It is only through knowledge that we can prevent violence, that we can grow as a society, and that our children can grow up intelligent, well-rounded, empathetic individuals who will not repeat the atrocities of the past, who will feel safe in their individual identities, and will embrace the differences of others rather than attempting to erase them. History does not speak well of those who restricted knowledge, of those who would ban books, or who silence identities, nor does it speak well of those that stood aside and made it easy for them to do so. The district already has a way for parents to opt out of books that they do not want their children to read in the Destiny system. They can choose that control over their children, what their children are reading, and this should be enough. We also already have an established protocol for parents to file concerns about books within the library system, and I ask that the board uphold that guideline, that policy, and require these groups to bring these petitions to the individual schools and follow that process. I also ask the board to consider the source of these ban requests and those that want to stifle knowledge and the reasons they want it stifled. I ask that they provide all tools to learn history as it actually happened, not as we wish it had, and tools like Nearpod can only help in that regard.
Thank you. Maureen Miller. And on deck is Will Austin. Maureen Miller.
My name is Maureen Miller, and I would like to express some concerns about the Nearpod software and how it is being mapped to Florida requirements. In a previous meeting, one of the first modules one of the school board members was able to access when he was evaluating it was, in essence, promoting CRT. I found a Nearpod blog for educators in using modules for their students. The entry I read was helpfully called How to Help Students Determine Fake News, with suggestions for modules. That in itself is rather biased. Now, granted, I'm not able to access the modules, but I think we can all guess as to what is classified as fake news. There is still some uncertainty as to who is verifying that the software is being mapped to Florida requirements and who is verifying that. I would encourage a bit more transparency on that process. I would also like to mention some of the books in the Polk County libraries that are under review. I commend you for creating a citizens committee to review the books. There have been reports that we are trying to ban books. Not true. I am a retired librarian with a master's of library science. My parents were high school teachers. My father was a professor of educational administration. I don't believe in banning books, whether it's Huck Finn and Gone with the Wind that have been banned in libraries, the American Libraries Association removing Laura Ingalls Wilder's name from a children's award, J.K. Rowling's name being taken off the Harry Potter books, or books that contain detailed sexual descriptions. However, I also believe that books should be age appropriate when accessible to children. I'm assuming that our libraries don't have Hustler or Penthouse magazines on the shelves. You've got the reports of various of the books. They've got passages that would fit well in those magazines. Again, thank you for creating a commission for reviewing the books. As I mentioned, this is not a push to ban books, but parents and taxpayers of Polk County have the right to know what materials are accessible to their children. Every media specialist who purchases books makes a decision on what books are banned by not buying them or by restricting their access. We are simply asking to be part of that process on both sides of the political spectrum. Thank you.
Thank you. Will Austin. Will Austin is up next, and Vissel Dokyer is on deck. And I am sorry if I've butchered your name.
Love technology. Madam Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Hyde, it's an honor to speak to you on this 22nd day of March. Let the calendar committee know they have some more work to do. Going forward, we'll have to jump directly from January to March. You see, some stakeholders think Black history equals CRT. They want history's glory without its burden. A few months ago, as the school board recognized our LGBTQIA+ students and advisors, a group of stakeholders stood up, turned their backs, and walked out on our students. Now they want to deprive our students and teachers of resources like Nearpod and library books because of these same themes and genres. See a pattern? It's sad that the rank and file think this is grassroots. They're being manipulated by wealthy partners and used to read scripts from hate groups. Turning Point USA tells recruiters to, quote, avoid saying the N-word and don't Jew hate, at least not all the time, end quote. The Florida Citizens Alliance, mentioned earlier, complains if textbooks have too many scientists of color in them. The Alliance Defending Freedom wants to criminalize homosexuality and increase discrimination. Liberty Counsel fought against an anti-lynching bill. In 2020, Michael Flynn suggested to then-President Trump that he suspend the Constitution, silence the press, and hold a new election under military authority. These are the groups that feed CCDF. It's difficult for them to claim to defend freedom and love the founding documents while they attack our most marginalized students and deprive them of representation. They want to indict dedicated, certified, passionate professionals if they don't get their way. They use religion like they do the Constitution. It's modern extremism holding a Bible upside down. The CCDF leadership wants power, and schools are low-hanging fruit for that. But Christianity is revolutionary. It casts down the powerful from their thrones, lifts up the lowly, fills the starving with good things, and sends the rich away empty. My prayer tonight is simply that the bigots learn to love. It's more difficult to be an oppressor when you're busy washing feet. Thank you.
Up next is Vessel Doper. On deck is James Taggett.
It's W sound.
I'm sorry.
Way to go, Vaisal. Yes, hi, my name is Vaisal Dokur. I'm a Polk County resident. I came here before, different subjects. I think first time I came was for the mask mandate, and I was asking you to empower your superintendent to keep the, be able to give a mandate and decide what it is right. So it is about empowering. I want to talk about the Nearpod also, a tool. I was sitting here reading about it in 20 minutes. A lot of pros, a little bit cons, especially technology-wise, but from what I see, it empowers our teachers, it empowers our students to learn. And some people are afraid from information. They don't want people to learn. Why? Why are they afraid from information learning? My answer, control. So if somebody doesn't know and cannot separate the truth from false, they can be easily manipulated, control. So I came here with, part of the Polk County Parents for Education, supporting our school board, because you're trying to do the right thing and common sense. And this Nearpod, as far as I know, is a great tool, and our students, children, educators should be able to use these tools to give the best options to our next generation so they can be more loving, sympathetical, empathetical, each other, developing a better world. And earlier, a gentleman with respectfully hold a Bible, I think, and I have something about the Bible I would like to read here a little bit. Just 1 second. I was born in Istanbul, Turkey. I was raised as a Muslim, but I studied, I read the Bible in English my last year of high school, and I remember the stories, you know, a lot of stories, and I was like, oh my God, they really like did this? And if it continued, like say, how did they believe in earth was flat? Why did they judge, you know, enough? A lot of stories. So information is power. We need to power our students, and let's do our best to empower them. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is James Taggett, and on deck is Sarah White.
Yeah, hi, good evening. Yeah, my name is Jim Taggett. I'm a Polk County taxpayer and voter, okay? And we're here tonight, we're discussing this Nearpod system and the fact that critical race theory has metastasized all through it. Now, there was an earlier speaker that made the statement, those that don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. So we'll start with a brief history lesson. Critical race theory has evolved from critical theory. That was one of Karl Marx's creation. Read your history, folks. And that helped the Bolsheviks in 1917 take over Russia. The Bolsheviks were actually the Communist Party in disguise. And that now has evolved into critical race theory, which, okay, the critical theory actually pit the factory workers against the factory owners. Now with critical race theory, we're pitting little black kids against little white kids in order to create chaos like they did in 1917. Now some of you all have mentioned listed memberships in Christian churches. So we'll see what Jesus has to say about all this. So we can start with Mark chapter 12. And you've all heard it, love thy neighbor. That's in verse 31. He was asked about what's the greatest commandment. The first is to love God with all your heart, your soul, and your mind. The second is to love your neighbor as yourself. Pitting little children against each other according to skin color does not sound like love your neighbor. Okay. We can go to Matthew chapter 12, verse 16. This is when Jesus called the little children to him. You've all read that. In verse 6. Jesus says, but whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him to have a heavy millstone hung around his neck and be drowned in the depth of the sea. Sounds serious. He goes on in verse 10, see that you do not despise one of these little ones, for I say to you that their angels in heaven continually see the face of my Father who is in heaven. Jesus loves the little kids. It sounds like they're well protected. Okay, now people in positions of authority, this could be your religious leaders, your preachers at church, your elders, teachers, school board who direct the teachers, okay, are held to a higher standard when it comes to judgment. Let's consider James chapter 3, verse 1. Do not become teachers in large numbers, my brothers, for you know we who are teachers will incur a stricter judgment. Y'all are responsible for what you teach to the students. And as school board members, you're responsible for what you direct the teachers to teach. Okay. It's on you what the kids, if you teach the kids to hate each other, that's on you. And I pray that you just get rid of this Nearpod. It sounds, from what I've heard before, it sounds like this critical race theory is embedded through it. You're not going to get it out. Look at a different system. It's not the only one out there. You have other choices. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Sarah White, and on deck is Bill Young.
Hello, I'm Dr. Sarah White, and I live at 753 San Rafael Street in Ponciana. I was a school psychologist here several years ago, and prior to coming to Polk County, I worked as a school psychologist and special education administrator in North and South Carolina. The other part about me that you can tell is that I'm an old lady, and I grew up in a segregated South environment. I'm the descendant of slave owners. There was a grandfather-age person who worked for my grandparents, who was the child of a breeder during a period of enslavement, and that breeder sired 100 children. And I say sired deliberately because at that time, that's how blacks were considered. They were considered property. So at this point, first I want to express my appreciation for the school board and for the staff of Polk County Schools for their efforts during these difficult times. I wish to add my support for the Nearpod materials, especially those involving civics and social emotional learning. The stated goal of the civics program, which was developed by former Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, is to give students the knowledge and will to participate in our unique experiment in self-government using high-quality, nonpartisan, engaging activities. While no program is perfect, and I saw a lot of bandwagons go by in my career, there is an interesting concept mentioned in its material. That is to be either a window into the world of others or a mirror that reflects the similarities of yourself and others. There are many forces present that wish to divide our community and to sow distrust of our government, our schools, and our churches. Honestly telling the story of our country, acknowledging the worth of all individuals, and striving to become a more perfect union is not always as exciting as creating boogeymen to gain power over others through fear and manipulation. However, it is a goal worth pursuing. Thank you.
Thank you. And Bill Young is last on the docket.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Bill Young. I'm a Polk County taxpayer and associated with Winter Haven 912. And before I start, I'd like to say I'm probably not that bright. I was brought up in Rochester, New York, but where I was brought up, we didn't jeer at people and talk through their speaking. First, I want to thank Ms. Angela Usher for an informative return phone call this morning regarding the UVC upper room disinfectant units. The board is looking to complete the installation in all classrooms. After careful review, I believe these units to be a positive addition to the classroom environments. I believe these units will lessen the spread of disease, and in so doing, the board will never again see the need to close schools due to possible illness and end any future talk of mask mandates. Secondly, I want to encourage all board members, parents, and anyone in the community to go to the Florida Citizens Alliance website and review the well-researched reports on the 16 books in question that should concern anyone that contain inappropriate illustration regarding sex education. I'm reminded of the father when his daughter came home from 5th grade and asked where she came from. He nervously attempted to explain the birds and the bees. When done, he asked her why she wanted to know. Her answer, because Nancy, who sits next to me in class, is from Detroit. Age-appropriate sex education is needed. Harmful is not. I'm not for banning books. I don't think any sensible person is for banning books blanketly. But what I would share is that if books that are intended for teaching are not containing a continuum of age-appropriate teaching, but have inside of them sneaking things in that don't belong, that are not age-appropriate, that we should consider that these are not the right books to use. Perhaps other books that are of a wiser choice are better to use. So to use a boating analysis, the rudder is not always to the left or to the right, to the port or to the starboard. Sometimes there's a middle ground that makes sense. I'm encouraging anybody to look at these books, understand what they say and do, and then make for your own decision. You be the sole judge as to what should be used for books in these cases, in these classrooms. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, and next on our agenda will be the approval of the minutes. We will start with the minutes from January 25th, 2022 school board meeting. I'll seek a motion in a second.
Move to approve.
Second.
Ms. Fortney and Ms. Fields. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. All right, the next set of minutes will be the meeting minutes from January 25th, 2022 work session. I'll seek a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Fields and Ms. Fortney. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. And the final set of minutes will be from February 8th, 2022 work session. I'll seek a motion in a second.
So moved.
Second.
And I believe that was Dr. Allen and Ms. Fortney. All those in, any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. Next is the approval of the consent agenda. And I will seek a motion in a second.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Ms. Fields and Ms. Miller. Any discussion? Mr. Wilson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. During the work session today, I made these comments. I want to repeat them here. I think Mr. Allen clarified for us that the Nearpod product is a platform. It's not essentially publishing. So it's a platform that supports teaching and can be manipulated if it need be by our teachers. We heard a lot of positive things about this product from our teachers, and I think it's clear that it's something that is a value to our school system and to our teachers and our educators. So as I said in the work session, I'll be supporting this motion and voting for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Anyone else? Ms. Fields?
As I said in the work session earlier today, I had an opportunity to go to a couple of our schools to see firsthand what Nearpod looks like and to see how the students interact with the teachers. And I was very surprised at how engaged the students were. And everything that I heard from the teachers was positive. I asked about, is it any way for CRT to be a part of the curriculum? And they said no, they had never seen anything that would even imply that, and that they control what they're able to allow their students to use as it relates to Nearpod. They also said that they have to do lesson plans, and their administrators have to approve the lesson plan. So I am confident that what we're supposed to be teaching our students as it relates to our standards and what they need to have to continue to be engaged is definitely worth the investment. And I, too, will be supporting approval of Nearpod.
Thank you, Ms. Fields. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. Superintendent Hyde, would you like to introduce any of the new administrators?
Madam Chair, there's one new administrator this evening pending board approval, so we will defer their recognition until such time as we address and approve that position for funding.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So it will take place this evening with board.
Okay, that's, I believe, coming up next.
Yes,
All right. So first item on the action agenda is the reorganization discussion of school and central office positions. We discussed in work session today that we will take these in groups Because one of them is here this evening, I'm going to go with Group 4 first. So I will seek a motion to approve Group 4 of the reorganization and repurposing of vacant positions.
I will second. I'll make a motion, rather. Which one are we doing? 4?
Group 4,
Liaison.
the community
All right.
liaison.
I move approval to add the community liaison position.
Second.
Ms. Fields and Ms. Fortney. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. Superintendent Hyde, would you like to introduce our new community liaison?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, members of the board, members of the staff and community, thank you. At this time, it's my absolute pleasure to please bring up to the microphone Ms. Kylea Carswell as our... Ms. Carswell is currently the Community Partnership School Director with Children's Home Society of Florida. She is going to be a new hire with Polk County Public Schools, and as agreed upon, because she is being very respectful, and we're very appreciative of this, of her current employer and her sense of commitment to them as an organization and to their mission, she will not have an effective start date until March 14th, but we did want to acknowledge her this evening, and please, if you would, say a few words. Congratulations.
Well, first, I give honor to God for even being here tonight, so I'm grateful that I have this opportunity. But thank you, Superintendent Hyde and board members, for this opportunity to serve my county. I am a product of Polk County Schools. My son is a product of Polk County Schools. He's now a senior in college himself. My daughter is a current product of Polk County Schools. She's in elementary school. But also, I have a ton of supporters here. If they could stand and wave. There's family members, there's my sisters, my daughter, my friends, colleagues, my brother. There's so many people here that are excited about this opportunity because, again, I am a product of Polk County Schools. All the way from kindergarten up through high school, I went to school in Polk County. So I am excited about this opportunity to make a difference in my county, where I live. I have a home here. So I am looking forward to the great things that are to come and all the great things that we're going to do together to serve Polk County School students and their families.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All right, so the next section will start at the beginning of the alphabet. So we will do Group A, which is the facilities group. So I'll see a motion to approve the reorganization of school and central office positions for Group 1. I'm sorry, it's not letters, it's numbers. Group 1.
Move approval.
Second.
Ms. Fields and Ms. Miller. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. Right, now moving to Group 2, which is Director of Teen Parent Program. I'll seek a motion to approve the reorganization of school and central office positions, Group 2.
I move approval that we change the senior coordinator teen parent to the director of teen parent.
Second.
And that was Ms. Fields and Mr. Wilson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. Right, Group 3, which includes the HR positions. So I'll seek a motion for the approval of reorganization of school and central office positions, Group 3.
Move approval of Group 3.
Second.
Ms. Cunningham and Ms. Miller, I believe. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Ms. White. Ms. White.
Oh, sorry, I apologize. Ms. Fortney had her finger up.
In Group 3, I just want to, we're adding 2 certification specialists and 2 HR specialists. That is very, very needed down there because of our workload for HR with our almost, 8,000 just teachers. So thank you, Superintendent.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Fortney. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. And next, we will move to Group 5. So I will seek a motion for the recommended action of approving the reorganization of schools and central office positions, Group 5.
I move to approve Group 5.
A second.
Ms. Miller and Ms. Fields, any discussion? Ms. Fortney?
I am so torn on this. I just want to say that I'm going to vote for this because I don't see a better way to fix a problem that's been building for years than this right here. And if it doesn't work, I trust that superintendent will be able to find a plan that does. I understand at Bartow High School IB, I live in that community, and I taught for Dr. Vetter. And it's hard, but, you know, I just feel like this is the best way to go right now. So I'm going to be supporting it.
Thank you, Ms. Fortney. Any further discussion? Mr. Wilson?
So we had discussion about this, of course, during work session, and I think the way you find solutions is to have discussions and you talk about things, right? That's how you find solutions and move things forward. So I don't know if this is an appropriate solution, but what I've heard is there's concern about the title and about the title of head of school. So I'm just going to offer this, and if it's helpful, then wonderful. If it's not, that's okay too. What about the title of headmaster? Would that be something that would be somewhat more definitive? I mean, more meet the definition of what we're looking for? It's just a thought.
Mr. Wilson, I would have no objection to retitling it headmaster.
I have
Well, it's
Ms.
the head of
Fields?
school.
headmaster. Master to me means a man. And I have a problem with headmaster because some of these women are not men, they're women. So I would not be in support of that, headmaster.
Thank you. Is this on headmaster, Ms. Fortney?
Head of school is, I think, more appropriate. That's, again, having taught at Bartow IB, it was a school within a school when we started it, right? And it shared faculty, et cetera. And it has always worked well together. And so I like head of school.
Ms. Cunningham?
Thank you. I am not going to be able to support this evening. I've had too many people reach out to me regarding the title, and I'm not sure what the title should be, but I think this deserves an opportunity to go back to the table, because from what I understand, looking at the job descriptions and so forth, it implies that the position reports to a principal or in some form or fashion. So I personally would like to see us, as Mr. Wilson just indicated, the way you correct things and make changes is to go back to the table and have a discussion about it. So I would like to see us go back and discuss this further, because I don't see us making a decision tonight and then 2 months from now going, whoops, shouldn't have been that title, now we're going to move it to this. I think you take the time up front, you get it correct the first time, we assign those titles going forward, and then you're done and you move on to other things, strategic planning and so on and so forth. I just don't think the community is happy with this, and therefore I cannot support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cunningham. Dr. Allen?
Yeah, just even the dialogue here, to me, status and position titles are important. I think even the consideration of, headmaster or whatever is demonstrating the position that I'm going to hold on this. Just going back and watching past discussions on this group 5, I'm just hoping that we can give more attention to it. And again, I'm coming at it from the perspective of the long-term sustainability of our specialty programs, and it's coming more from a higher ed perspective where ranks matter, meaning instructor, assistant, associate, full professor. So when you become a full professor in status, the thought that you would transition back to an assistant or associate is not common. So when I think about the future of our specialty programs, if there would be a transition at, that level within our specialty schools, if they've been sitting at the principal level and looking at the head of school position, I'm not sure that they see that as a lateral or a move up. And then on top of that, we've had precedents at this school in particular. One of the specialty programs where that role was a principal position, and it was successful. So when I'm just pondering those things for the longevity of the school, I'm not going to be in support of this initiative tonight.
Ms. Miller?
Looking at Group 5, I'm not as worried about titles. I'm not in these positions, but if I'm trying to compare someone who runs an entire program in a building like Central Florida Aerospace Academy, that's not the same thing as running the small 85-member, Cambridge program at Tenorock. So I would have liked to have seen levels with this, even if it's not pay or title. I would, AP. We have different AP levels. I would have liked to have seen that with this, but these aren't in the group. I don't consider all of these the same. When I'm looking at them from a leadership perspective, if you're in charge of a building and all that encompasses building and staff and support and security, that's very different than running a program within a program. So I'm not sure I'm comfortable with all of them being the same. I'm open to suggestions. I'm not hardlining any of this, so I'm here to listen.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. I do just want to clarify that Tenorock is an assistant principal,
Right.
not the head of schools because of that number. So,
But even assistant principals, if we were to move out, and somebody mentioned this earlier and made me think of it, if we were to move assistant principals, and this is a title you're given for 8% of the population of the school, why would you ever go to another school to be, I think there needs to be an intermediate. Why would you ever move to an assistant principal job of a 3,000 student high school if you're an assistant principal for a very small percentage of a program? I would like to have seen it broken down, but that's my input.
thank you. Ms. Fortney?
Correct me if I'm wrong, because maybe I am missing the point here. I thought the point, Mr. Hyde, was to take assistant principal positions that are schools within a school that are doing the head of school job, no matter really the number per se, because they're still part of a larger umbrella of a school where they still do lunch duty for everybody. They still do buses. They do all the stuff for that school. So if there's 2,000 kids, they're head of school for the number of kids within their program, but they are part of a much bigger system.
That is correct, and I think that's an important point of clarification, and it's been brought up a few times. If a sitting principal were to choose to apply to take one of these roles, they do so with the full knowledge of the title change. The title, and I looked up headmaster and building principal and asked and searched for what the difference is, and there is no difference. It's just it's a semantic issue. But there is a difference between somebody who functions and operates the building in its entirety and someone who is solely there to support a specific program. They do not have a budget. They do not write curriculum. They do not do any of those things. They do not plan the school holistically. And that's why the designation of head of schools was brought forward after I brought forward an initial recommendation of principal. They are solely responsible for that curriculum area, but in every other aspect, they still function as an assistant principal for the building in its entirety. There just aren't enough students to justify that. Now, as I mentioned earlier in workshop, there are some good examples because their facility is actually, to a certain extent, they're not necessarily co-located. Summerlin is across the street. It's a school unto itself. CFAA is a school unto itself, essentially, completely off campus. And then you have a program such as, so the Tenorock program, getting back to that program, as we shared, the recommendation is to move that from an AP 10-month to a 12-month to allow them to actually have the summer for planning purposes and recruitment initiatives. That school is about to launch the 3DE program, and they're going to need somebody who can focus programmatically on growing their enrollment. And at some point, the vast majority of students at that school will be enrolled in this program. So the head of schools, the reason I brought it back forward, there are a lot of problems putting two principals in a building. We've discussed that at length at previous workshops. At the end of the day, there's one school boss. It's the simplest way for me to bring it forward. None of these, let me rephrase that, very few, so I'll use Bartow IB as a good example. To my knowledge, and I may be wrong, there isn't a single staff member in Bartow IB that solely serves IB students. In fact, most of them are crossing, serving both Bartow enrolled students and Bartow students taking an IB course.
And Summerlin.
So it creates an issue, potentially, where if I don't like the evaluation that I was given from my administrator, I can then go and create a conflict with between my head of school and my principal, because they're both titled principal, excuse me, I shouldn't have said head of school and principal. Principal and principal, at the end of the day, who is ultimately responsible for that employee? Is it the person who supervises them who has the most class sections within the program, whether it's in the main building or in the IB program? There were issues that were brought forward when I first brought the recommendation to move them all to principal based off a historical perspective, right? And again, I'm going to continue to say we need to find an equitable mechanism to address this. Moving them to head of schools with a slight salary improvement because they're taking on some additional duties and responsibilities outside of a traditional 12-month assistant principal, I felt was well justified. But to create, and I understand, Dr. Allen, where you're coming from, but there is a difference. You're applying for that role with the full understanding that you're going into that role with a different title. It still gives them the operational autonomy to run the program. They are not going to be given the operational autonomy to run the school. And there is a big difference between the two. We hire one building principal for a reason. We're stuck in this quagmire, because of the history behind it, where we did certain things, and now, and again, the way this was presented to me when I first arrived here was, well, the decision before you arrived here, Mr. Hyde, by the board and former superintendent was to create the head of school position or to eliminate the principal position. And when I inquired more frequently about, well, why do you feel you have to have a building principal? Really, the strongest argument that came forward was, well, Summerlin has it and Harrison has it, and that's what we used to have. I still, to date, haven't heard a sound reason why it must be a principal, other than there's a belief there. And I don't disparage or disagree with the history of the program nor its success. And I hate to make this particularly about IB, but this same argument is being applied elsewhere. Let me give you an example of why. Bartow IB, as I shared with the board previously, not only has a head of school, but they have an assistant principal assigned to the school for 200 and some odd students. And yet Cambridge, who has just as many, if not more students, only had an assistant 10-month position. There were so many inequities in our organization. And so really at the end of the day, if the board wants me to come back and you want to pull the item tonight and have further discussion, there is no sense of urgency or rush to approve this tonight. So if you'd like to have more discussion, please, I'm more than happy to do so, and I can bring an additional recommendation forward. Ms. Miller brings up a point, can we trigger it based off an enrollment? I'll explore any option based off the board's direction. But I just wanted to, provide an opportunity to clarify why I did not bring the principal back, because when I brought it the first time, there was reluctance and hesitancy because to move someone, and we do have to acknowledge this, from either an AP 10 or an AP 12 to a principal, it's a significant pay increase. And I hate to make it about the dollars, but perception becomes a reality at times too. So I tried to take into consideration all the factors that were shared with me based off your feedback and be considerate of the program needs by moving them all to AP 12s. In a perfect world, we wouldn't have AP 10s. Because more often than not, we extend a contract to 10-month employees for an extra month. A 30-day contract, which essentially is another 2 months when you think about it. And at the end of the day, we're really just being more disingenuous than not. So I will find a solution for the board as it relates to this. And I'm open to suggestions. It's been a great discussion tonight. I hear Dr. Allen, I hear Mr. Wilson, I hear You know, Ms. Miller and I had a long conversation about this, as we often do. I know that Ms. Fortney has sat in on meetings with me to talk about this with staff. And I hope everybody understands and takes my comments this evening for what they are. There is no disrespect intended towards the history, the success, or the staff involved. I'm simply trying to find the best equitable solution for everyone so we don't find ourselves in this situation again. So, sorry.
Ms. Fields.
And I think that is where we started, Superintendent Hyde. When you came, you said there were some inequities and they would be looked at. And I think this was a beginning, a starting point. And it's a bump up. It's not probably where everyone would want it to be, but it's better than it was. And one of the things that I hate we don't have is the salary information on here, because it's not here to show that all of these positions will get some type of increase in salary.
Yes, ma'am.
So I guess my question to you is, are you going to pull this tonight, or do you want to have a vote on this tonight?
Well, if you vote on the motion, Mr. Bridges, I'm going to defer to you here, sir. If you vote on the motion and it fails, I can still bring the item back in a revised form, correct? Or the board can make a motion, a board member can make a motion to table this discussion and bring it back for workshop, correct?
But then it has to come back at the next meeting.
And they could approve it, and then a month from now, you could bring back something new and recommend it, and they can approve that. So absolutely.
Well, to an earlier point, we won't be doing that.
Ms. Miller.
I just have one more point. I don't want to delay, this isn't my school, but Central Florida Aerospace Academy I've spent a lot of time at. And if we're going to talk about, if this comes back, if we're going to talk about titles, headmaster is used a lot in the private setting, and I think maybe post-secondary, even not post-secondary, but multiple alternative kind of settings. I like the head of schools title. I understand what you're saying, and I appreciate what Ms. Fortney explained, that even though a program head of school is still in charge of all of the other things within that school, it has duties beyond the students they're assigned, and that helped me understand it. So I support the superintendent decision on this, and I just would stick with head of schools. I think it varies too much, and I agree with Ms. Fields. There's a lot of women to be empowered, and that might not be taken so well. But I appreciate Ms. Fortney bringing that up. That really did help me understand what that role would be. And I do think, just looking at this list, the person running these independent buildings have done this a long time for less pay and without titles. So that's important.
Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I heard Ms. Fields' concerns about the term headmaster, and I respect that, so I'm going to withdraw that title. It does seem that this is of some concern to our community. So, I'm a big believer in talking and having the discussion and finding a solution. And I understand Superintendent Hyde's concerns about having a second principal on the same campus as well. So I think, from my perspective, it's a matter of finding a title that folks are comfortable with. So I would hope we could do that. And for that reason, what I heard was, if we approve this tonight, we're not going to bring it back. So in that case, I'm going to oppose this simply because I want us to continue to work to find something that's equitable to everyone involved.
Mr. Bridges.
Ma'am.
If we approve this tonight with the caveat that Superintendent Hyde will bring us back other recommended titles for the position, can we approve it tonight and then him still bring back a title change at a later date?
I believe that would be messy.
Yeah.
Okay.
My suggestion to you would be that if you're not prepared to vote for it as is this evening, superintendent has offered to bring it back to you at the next meeting. That would probably be the cleaner way to do it.
Okay. Any further discussion? Is this discussion?
Well, I was going to make a motion.
Well, we have a motion, we have a motion and a second on the floor, so we need to vote on that motion first before we can.
Maybe I'm missing the point, but what is it with the title, head of school? Head of school at IB at Bartow High School. That's how IB at Bartow High School. I mean, it says it in its name. And, head of school, is what they are. They're the head of IB at Bartow High School. Just, whatever.
Thank you, Ms. Fortney. So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any further discussion on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, I think we probably need to do a roll call vote. District 1,
No.
District 2,
No.
District 3.
I'm going to say no, so y'all can keep talking about it.
District 4, yay. District 5,
Yay.
District 6,
No.
District 7,
I'm going to vote yes.
and the motion fails. Ms. Cunningham, did you have another motion that you wanted to propose related?
Yes, ma'am. I would like to propose a motion that we give Superintendent Hyde and staff the opportunity to go back, revisit this, bring back more information as far as titles, as far as salaries, all of that, and bring it back to us. So I would like to table this item. Is that correct, Mr. Bridges? Vote to table it to our next meeting.
If we table it, we have to pick it
We
back
already
up.
voted, right?
It will be a new item. A motion to lay on the table is to keep the same item and come back to it next time. This motion has failed. Right now, there is no proposition before the school board.
Okay.
You may certainly direct the superintendent to bring back a new item at the next meeting.
I already said that, so yes,
Yes,
sir.
ma'am.
If you'd be so kind, Superintendent Hyde, we would appreciate that. And if we could have some discussion and work session prior to the vote in the evening would be terrific.
Yes, ma'am.
So are we okay with bringing it back to back if we can have substantial discussion during the work session in March?
As long as we have it in advance.
So as long as we get the information in advance, we can bring it back to back.
I will attempt to, yes, ma'am. You will get the information hopefully by either the end of this week or early next week.
Thank you. All right, Group 6, the last one. I'll hear a motion to approve the reorganization of school and central office positions for Group 6, which is the adult schools.
I make a motion to approve Group 6 of the adult schools.
Second?
Ms. Miller and Ms. Cunningham? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries. And now, moving on to item Q2, which is the naming of Building 33 at Auburndale High School for Mr. Paul Green. Do I have a motion?
I move to name Building
33.
33 after Mr. Paul Green, and I'm excited to have the principal here to share with us.
Second.
Ms. Miller and Ms. Fortney, any discussion? Ms. Miller, did you want to read?
I do.
And Mr. Bruno, he's already making his way forward. Look at
Ty
him.
Bruno, principal of Auburndale High School, is joining us. I'm going to read a little bit about Mr. Green, Paul Green. I'm sure everyone has heard of him. He's the legend of Auburndale, and I'm going to read just my letter that I sent. Actually, I'm going to read Mr. Bruno's letter. Mr. Bruno and Auburndale High School requested permission to name Building 33 the Paul Green Academic Building in memory of the great man that everyone called the legend. Paul Green passed away in February due to an unfortunate sickness, COVID. He graduated in 1973 from Auburndale High School as an All-American athlete and returned to Auburndale in 1978 to teach for 43 years and to coach at his alma mater. In 2013, Paul Green was inducted into the Auburndale High School Hall of Fame. He has touched the lives of many people throughout the Auburndale community, in the classroom and on the football field. The foundations and legacies that he has instilled on the campus of Auburndale High School will definitely live on throughout the Auburndale community. I am honored, and I know the board is honored, to have this building named after Mr. Green, and I'm glad Mr. Bruno is here to share. My input is that Mr. Green lived next to my sister for a little while, not far from the high school, so even while I was running for the board, I got to meet with him lots to talk about issues, and it was always about students. He would name the student and the issue they were dealing with, and he had a solution. This man was dedicated to kids, and he came back out of retirement to help students. and we lost him to COVID. So I can't wait to do this for his family, and I'm glad Mr. Bruno is here to talk more about Mr. Green.
Good evening, Superintendent and the board. So first of all, growing up in Auburndale as a young man attending Auburndale High School, you always look forward to seeing Coach Green in the hallways. He would speak to every child. He would speak to every student. That's just what Auburndale High School was about, and it was about him. He did tremendous things throughout our community. During COVID times, he would take food to families. When a lot of things got shut down, he would personally go buy food, take it to different families throughout the Auburndale community as well. He had that heart of gold and wanting to give back. He never missed athletic events. He always helped us in football games, basketball games, baseball games. He was always there, didn't have to be, but he wanted to support the students at AHS. And he's a legend. And so there's no better fitting for us to name our Building 33, our 700s building, after Coach Green. He was one of the first occupants of the building when it was built. He took office in there as well, and that's where he stayed at until his passing last year. And, you know, as an Auburndale community, we were devastated last year, and it took a lot of us to get through it and, you know, leaning on one another with all the parades we did for Coach Green as well on campus during what was going on with COVID. And also this past Saturday, they had the Coach Green Community Day in Auburndale at the park as well. We look forward to honoring him in April when doing the naming of the building as well, when his daughter can come back into town and join us as well. So I thank you and appreciate everything that you do for us at Auburndale.
Thank you so much. Any further comment from the board?
I have comment.
Ms. Fields?
I knew Coach Green from church. We attended the same church in Auburndale. My brother was a pastor there. He was a good man, a Christian man, and he is a legend, as you just said. I remember him vividly riding around on the golf cart, giving rides, just a great man, and this is a great honor for him, and I'm happy that his family will be able to celebrate his legacy in April. So make sure that you keep us informed on that date, please.
You will be invited.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Bruno.
Thanks, Ty. The next item on our agenda is the Matter Academy Davenport Charter Contract. And I will seek a motion to approve the Matter Academy Davenport Charter Contract.
Motion to approve the contract as written.
Second.
Ms. Miller and Ms. Fields? Oh, sorry, Ms. Cunningham and Ms. Fields? I apologize. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. And the last item on our action agenda is Belliceta Elementary Middle School addition, gymnasium, dining room, and track. And I'll seek a motion to approve to create a project to build a middle school addition to include grades 6, 7, and 8, gymnasium, dining room, and track at Belliceta Elementary with the cost of $22 million.
Move
So moved.
approval.
Second?
Ms. Cunningham and Mr. Wilson, any discussion?
Yes.
Ms. Fields?
Okay, I had asked that this be placed on the regular agenda, and thank you for that. I had an opportunity to visit the campus last week, and thanks to Ms. Usher and to Mr. Duncan for meeting me there rather, and showing me the property. And I have nothing against the concept of a kindergarten through 8th grade school. I want to make sure that's understood. I do have a concern that there is very little space once the middle school building goes into the area where it's designated to go. And I've mentioned this to Superintendent Hyde. And Ms. Usher did get some information from the architect, I would imagine.
Yes, ma'am.
And the setback was given, and I think it was like within 36 feet.
36 feet on the east side of the campus, and it's 42 feet to the north end of the campus.
And the requirement, I think, was 26?
Oh, no, ma'am, 25.
25. So that's going to be very tight. And so my question to Superintendent Hyde was, how much does it cost to build an elementary school? We're spending $22 million on adding a middle school to an existing elementary school. How much does it cost to build an elementary school? I think we already have property purchased, do we?
Ms. Usher, if you'll please come forward.
And as she's coming, one of the things that Ms. Miller had mentioned some time ago was possibly turning Citrus Ridge to a middle school and then building the elementary school. And that would take care of the whole situation. That was a while back, I believe, Ms. Miller.
Ms. Usher, two questions for you based off Ms. Fields, if I may. Number one, do we have property already slated for an elementary school?
We
And then-
own an elementary school site and also a middle school site at Highway 27 and Holly Tank Road up in the northeast area. We bought those properties for relief for the elementary schools and the middle schools and for growth in the area.
What's the cost on an elementary school?
An elementary school is about 35 million. The architect gave me a price of 18 million on this middle school addition, but because it's impact fee and it takes a process to go through the county, it has to go to public hearing, and it's money that they have for us, and we put it to 22 million, so we don't have to go back if we need it. Any excess money will go on to the new elementary school if we have any left over. So it's 18 million for the middle school addition and 35 million for a new elementary school.
But
Would there be sufficient funds in impact fees to cover a new elementary school in its entirety?
I'm working with the county right now. We just requested 49 million from them, and they still have like 20-something million. So I'm hoping that we'll get to the 35 million soon, because the plan is to start the new elementary school 23D at Holly Tank Road and Highway 27 to provide enrollment relief to Laufman, Horizon, and all the growth in that area, to accommodate the growth.
well, I don't know why we can't push the build date earlier if the monies are going to be there.
Could we expedite the elementary or middle school campus at this time?
We can certainly look into that. If we won't use the 18 million for the middle school, then I can see how much, if we add that to the 20-something, if we'll have enough for an elementary school. The issue, as the board remembers, the reason why we recommended the K-8 was because when Belasita opened in 2021, we took like 400 students from Citrus Ridge Elementary to Belasita. Now, those students in Belasita will have to go back to Citrus Ridge, and right now Citrus Ridge is about 87% with portables, 105% without portables. The plan was to have those students matriculate from kindergarten all the way up to 8th grade in 2 schools, because then we will still have the issue with Citrus Ridge being over-enrolled.
I remember the history of that. I do remember that. I can't support it. I can't support it out of respect. As I said, I have nothing against K-8, but I cannot support putting that building on that small piece of property. I just can't. But I appreciate having a conversation.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. And just for clarification, part of the issue with that piece of property is there is no possible expansion, even though there's vacant land adjacent to the school. That is the Polk County, Osceola County boundary. And I don't foresee Osceola County forfeiting property to Polk County to build a school.
I don't either.
Thank you, Ms. Fields. Dr. Allen?
So, we were looking at the price for the elementary school, which was slated at 35 estimation. But the price for a middle school average is around 55 million, correct? So we're looking at 22 million
At the most for the middle school.
for a middle school, which is a good
Current
deal.
projected budget is 18. We would ask for the 22 in case there's any overruns, and then that would provide enough of a buffer, and any subsequent remaining funds would roll into the new elementary.
Ms. Miller?
I just, the buffers that we have and the contracts, and the new high school that we have, I just want to make sure that we're not, when we're approving 22 million, not that our contractors aren't above board, but the bidding up and COVID's cost $40 million more to build a high school. I can't sell that to the community anymore, Superintendent Hyde. So I need to know that we're not going to exceed what we've planned to spend.
Yes, ma'am. You have that assurance. Ms. Usher has done, and we are currently in negotiations on several sites, and she is holding the line as far as what our expectations and costs are. Much to the discomfort of some of our partners.
Ms. Cunningham?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am in support of this. This has been something that has been talked about for a while. Community has met and had input from the families, because the big thing in the Northeast area is the growth, and I think everybody knows that. And we built this school to be able to help with the growth, and in order to create the appropriate matriculation from elementary to middle school, Ms. Usher came out with this plan and presented it. We've held meetings up in the area, and those children and families are pretty much counting on us moving forward with this, so that all the kids who came from Citrus Ridge don't have to turn around now and go back to Citrus Ridge after being relocated once. And that may not sound like a big deal to those of us that are adults, but when you're a child in elementary school and you're trying to, with everything else going on in the world, it's kind of reassuring to stay in your own school. So I will be supporting this vote tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cunningham. Ms. Fields?
I had one question. So Superintendent Hyde, I want to make sure that I'm understanding. The amount of money that is budgeted is $22 million. And
yes, ma'am.
And there is no indication that it's going to go beyond that.
No, ma'am. The current proposal estimation is 18. We are securing 22 as a buffer, but no, ma'am, there is no indication at this time that we should see, with everything that we currently know, within our current parameters. If we were to break ground there and find out that there's burrowing owls on that campus and now we have to relocate, barring those types of situations, yes, ma'am, we would stay within budget.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
And the motion carries 6-1. Superintendent Hyde, we are ready for your superintendent report.
So briefly, before I begin with just my traditional statement about the next meeting, I tried to interject a little bit of a summary of events and activities that I've been a party to. I want to say thank you to our schools today. Steve Cochran and the team over at George Jenkins hosted the first in a number of years an event at their school where we could highlight all of our nationally certified academy programs. So we had school teams from across the state attending, got to interact. More importantly, they got to hear from me, but, well, let me take a step back. Not more importantly, they got to hear from me. I'm completely irrelevant in that. I was there to welcome them to Polk County into the school, but they got to hear from our kids. And I'll tell you, that's an impressive group of young men and women who are in multiple programs, everything from pre-law to our medical program, to our engineering programs, and I had the opportunity before anybody showed up to talk with them and hear their stories about the internships that they're serving. One of our young ladies was one of only 3 individuals selected in a Geico internship. She actually works every afternoon, and she is about to take her certification exam. She's working in payroll right now. And I told her that once she passes, I have 4 vacancies in the payroll department, and we would be more than happy to talk to her about some subsequent employment. And just what an amazing, impressive group of students. So well-spoken, so articulate, so well-versed, and with such a passion for their program areas. And really, it reiterated and resonated with me that that's sometimes we got to get those kids in front of our 8th graders and our 7th graders, because that's the selling point. It's great that we advertise and market to families and to parents to help them make informed decisions with their children, but we've got to engage our middle schoolers more to get them really excited about those programs. So kudos to Steve and his team. Also want to give a shout out to Susan Copeland. She will be hosting an event here next on the 4th There is a skeet shoot or trap shoot event as a fundraiser for Polk Education Foundation. She was kind enough to take my wife, myself, and my son out to practice. I will tell you that no one is in jeopardy based off my marksmanship. However, my son, I will say Call of Duty and Fortnite has definitely paid off. He is someone to be reckoned with on the range. But very proud of the fact that Susan and her team really strive to find creative ways to raise revenue for our public schools and to support grants and things within our classrooms. And so kudos to them. And I tell you, that young lady, she works very, very hard, and we're very proud of all that she does. So I wanted to give a couple brief shout-outs today. And you already addressed Marissa and her birthday, so she's a pleasure to work with, and happy birthday to her yet again. So for the superintendent's report, the next work session and board meeting will be held on March 8th, 2022. The work session will begin at 12:30 p.m. The board meeting will begin at 5 p.m. Work session and board meeting will be held at the Jim Miles Professional Development Center located at 5204 U.S. Highway 98 South in Lakeland. And I'll provide a summary to the board as to the progress for our previous board room. My understanding is they'll begin pulling wiring and cabling starting next week. However, some items, the control panels in particular, are still on back order. So I'll provide you an updated timeline for when we might be looking to transition back. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Mr. Bridges.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I suspect I've had my say for today.
Thank you, Mr. Bridges. And I think we will go backwards today. So, Ms. Miller.
Thanks. I'm going to keep this brief. I know we have people in the audience who are ready to talk to us. Next year, we're going to have a board team for that clay shoot. I was lucky enough to join the lessons, and I have bruises to show it. But I appreciate all Polk Education Foundation does, and making sure that the community knows what we do in the schools or active in our schools, so when things do come up, it doesn't impede on people that give to the scholarships for those students. So I'm proud to be on their board, and I really appreciate all they do. I'm going to end my report and pass it along. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I think we probably forgot it in committee appointments this year, but I appreciate you self-appointing as social chair for the school board.
I enjoyed it, and I think I've recruited lots of people in that clay shoot. And if you're in the audience and you shoot clays, I'll be happy to hook you up on a team. It'll be a great night, March 4th in the evening, evening clay shoot at that.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have some comments. I made these comments at the work session earlier today, but I think it's important to share them again. At our last work session, not this afternoon, but the one prior to that, I offered some comments about the book situation, and I think it's unfortunate that it's characterized as book banning because that's not what it is. After that meeting, I was criticized for taking those passages that I was concerned about out of context. And I thought it was interesting that some of the folks that criticized me for taking those comments out of context had no problem taking my comments out of context and even misrepresented my comments. And I think that's unfortunate. But I want to clarify what I said at that work session. What I suggested was that we have a discussion as a community, that we talk about this issue as a community, because I think when we do that, we have the ability to find a path forward. I think when we do that, we have the ability to find a solution, really, to any problem that we face in our school district. We have to talk about those things. And that's what I proposed. And there were many folks who came forward and did offer solutions. They engaged in the conversation. They engaged in the conversation in a very positive and productive way. And I think we have a solution that will be acceptable to most of the members of our community. This has become a national issue, and I think it's unfortunate and disappointing that it's being portrayed as book banning related to themes and genres, because that's not the case. This is a matter of passages that are cruel, passages that are dehumanizing, and passages that traumatize. The reality is I can't read those passages in this school board meeting. I can't even read them in context because I would be removed from my seat. My kids graduated from school here in Polk County. I would not want them reading those passages. Now, I didn't say that they shouldn't read the books. I said I wouldn't want them reading those particular passages. There have been some folks who have contacted me and said that they found value, that they found inspiration, that they found these books, that the books that are being quarantined, to be a positive influence in their life. So we have that. That's a very real and a very valid issue. But there is a second issue, and that is the passages that are dehumanizing and traumatizing to students and to people in general. And if we can't separate those two issues, if we can't focus on those passages and say, if we say that we're taking those out of context, then all we have left is fighting. We can't find a solution forward. We can't find a path forward. We can't find a solution. On the other hand, if we understand that they're two separate, very separate and distinct and relevant issues here, then we have the possibility of finding a path forward and finding a solution. And I think we've already done that. I think that we have a solution that pretty much everyone in our community will agree to. I certainly will vote for it. As I said earlier, I'll defer to the superintendent to bring that forward on his schedule. But I just want to say thank you to all the folks who participated in that conversation and offered thoughts and did so in a productive and positive way to help us find a solution to this very difficult problem. Because as I've said this afternoon, when we talk about things and we have those discussions, we can find a path forward for our community and we can find solutions. And to me, that's preferable to fighting about it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. And Ms. Fields?
Out of respect of the people that's waiting to speak, I'm going to not have a report. I'll do mine next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fields. And Ms. Fortney? It's harder backwards.
It is. I just want to say to all the teachers and staff that have retired since our last meeting, enjoy. You've earned it. Our school bus driver appreciation is today. March 1st is going to be our school social workers appreciation day. I want to give a shout out to John Ekman. He does the Bartow Adult Band. If you've never been to a free concert down there, they're usually our retired band directors and other band folks that enjoy entertaining the masses. We did a whole bunch of stuff, which I won't go into, but I do want to bring up a couple of things. The history and science fairs, thank you. Playing with the drones was awesome. Tigertown did a pancake thing for our Early Learning Coalition. That, I believe, was very successful. And then, along with another board member, Interact, there's a prom store open. It is totally free in the old Lakeland Square Mall. Feel free to go shop. It's for males and females as far as clothing attire. Of course, there was tons. I saw Mr. Jj Corbett here again. He was honored at the L.B. Brown celebration as well. The Northeast Chamber did a really good job with their Teacher of the Years and School-Related Employees of the Year. And I want to give a huge shout out to Dan Talbert. He's our athletic director. Him, along with his ADs at different schools and Rada Construction, helped out one of my elementary schools immensely, and I want to give them a huge public shout out because that partnership is how we make sure pre-K through 12 public schools just do it better. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fortney. Ms. Cunningham?
No report this evening, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cunningham. Dr. Allen?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a few items. Just really wanted to just lift up Crystal Lake Elementary this week. It's our community partnership school. They are right in the middle of their certification process. Huge ordeal. So many individuals within our community. It's a heavy lift. So I just wanted to just say thanks to Ms. Higgins, her leadership, the principals. We actually had the principal of Crystal Lake Elementary here this evening, honoring one of their staff members, even in the midst of the craziness that they're going through this week. And this is an honor, really, for it to be planted within our community. If you don't know much about what a community partnership school is, it's a rarity in the state. There's not very many. So for us to go through the certification process, we look forward to hearing great news on the backside of that. Also, I was just really thinking of Jeanette Crowley. She was the chairperson for the Leadership Lakeland Education Day, and there were several board members in participation in that, and it was a great day. It was quite full out there with our future leaders from around the city, and really appreciate her organizing that day. They actually drove in a big yellow bus, unloaded with all kinds of cheers and quite a bit of energy. And then I'm just, if you see me out and about, I'm carrying this really large 5-foot wood-cased pencil, and I've been roaming around different schools and, bringing Lakeland commissioners with me and different community leaders just to honor and to lift up our staff, school-based admins. And it's fun going into the classroom, seeing all these students who are like, what is that large pencil? And then I just let them know, all you need is a big imagination and a large pencil, and you could do anything you want. So really enjoyed getting around to our schools. Even this week, I think Mayor Bill Mutz has jumped in to visit with us on Friday, and Stephanie Madden as well, Lakeland Commissioner. On a more serious note, I think, the conversation around the books, and, we can debate the language around that. I would say it's healthy. It's healthy for us to discuss it, and I'm in favor of that. I feel like we do that, and we should do that daily. As we think about the touch points of consumption that we have available to us in any form of technology. I mean, the book is a form of technology in a sense. So in any form of technology, we should be addressing, and we should be vigilant about that. And I've taken a little different approach on it, and I've enjoyed conversing with my friend group and other individuals that are reading the books, and hey, good for literacy, let's do it, let's discuss and think. But we are adults in the midst of the conversation. So what I've done is I've been pondering the idea of childhood and what childhood is, because that should be a part of the conversation. And we hear tinges of it a bit here and there when we think about the language of age appropriateness. So I wanted to share just a little passage from a book that I've been reading by Neil Postman. Neil Postman started the Media Ecology program at NYU, and the title of his book is The Disappearance of Childhood. And he goes back actually to the medieval days to talk about the disappearance of childhood, actually it not even existing. And he equates the printing press as the proponent of the idea of childhood. So he says, to a certain extent, curiosity comes naturally to the young, but its development depends upon a growing awareness of the power of well-ordered questions to expose secrets. The world of the known and the not yet known is bridged by wonderment, but wonderment happens largely in a situation where the child's world is separate from the adult world, where children must seek entry through their questions into the adult world. As media merge the two worlds, as the tension created by secrets to be unraveled is diminished, the calculus of wonderment changes. Curiosity is replaced by cynicism, or even worse, arrogance. We are left with children who rely not on authoritative adults, but on news from nowhere. We are left with children who are given answers to questions they never asked. We are left, in short, without children. So my hopes are that, we don't overlook the idea of childhood and what is involved in that in the midst of the conversation. We are adults. and we do have children around us. So within that, I did talk to Superintendent Hyde. I think this is a relevant time. Earlier, I just asked a question. It came up in work session as well as we think about having access to the control of materials and so forth as related to our Destiny system. So I was going to ask Superintendent if you can maybe speak a couple words to that process and what we're thinking.
Certainly. So the current process, it is not very difficult to maneuver. So part of what we've been doing is not only internally having discussions, but having conversations with Destiny themselves based off the comments and the questions that were asked last workshop when I did the presentation about the committee and structure and its process. And so part of what we will do is provide and develop a video series, both in multiple languages, that will walk parents through how they can access the content. And additionally, internally, we'll be developing an online form that parents can use. They'll be required to do it once a year at the beginning of the school year to opt their children out. And so they'll be able to search by their school to see what media materials are readily available. Media materials do vary by school, so there is, unfortunately, sadly, there's not one comprehensive list to provide everyone because, as you saw, some of the books that are currently under review, in one instance, it's only located in one school in the entire school district. So it's really important for us to make sure that it's specific to that school. Additionally, what Destiny, where we're inquiring of Destiny, is the ability for them, very much like I shared as we go one-to-one, in my previous experience, we were able to send an automated process through Securely, which was our third-party company, that would provide parents with a comprehensive list of everything their child searched for while on a district device, while going through the district network. And so it allowed for conversations to happen at home, about what their children are looking for. And quite honestly, that is a shared responsibility in a digital environment between us and families. And so if we're able to replicate that as far as print content, then yes, then there's a lot of questions that surround that, but at least we're starting the process to explore that because at the end of the day, much as we did with human growth and development, there is an aspect of this to just make sure, number one, our parents are well informed as to what content and materials are readily available, and then give them the opportunity to make an informed decision about what content they'd like their child to have access to. And that's outside of the current discussion about these 16 books. But I have no doubt, as you know, that the original list started at 52, and we whittled down to 16. But I think, quite honestly, since this has come about, we've received multiple inquiries about other books. Cat in the Hat, Dr. Seuss, the Bible. How many schools have the Bible in them? And why not ban that book? And so there's a much larger conversation that needs to happen. So I think that by creating, and I think this gets to Mr. Wilson's point, if we can find a way to satisfy the concerns and allow families to make informed decisions, then we should pursue that and make it easy for everyone. But familiarizing parents and educating them as to the best way to approach this is something we're already discussing, and I look forward to bringing that solution to the board in the near future.
Appreciate that, and I think it's important for us to be vigilant in that, so appreciate it. Madam Chair, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Allen. And I just have two quick things that I wanted to highlight. The first is I want to say thank you to State Farm. They have partnered with several of our schools to do beautification projects. So most recently was Jewett School of the Arts this past Friday. While kids were out of school, they spruced up their entire front yard. So there's about 100 plants that they put in. They spread new mulch everywhere, and it was all State Farm employees that did this as volunteers. They also, because they did it as volunteers, will get a $500 grant for that school that they can use as the school sees fit. So this is, I believe, the third or fourth school that they've done, and they are ready to do as many as we can get them and as many as days off as we have during the school year. So I just want to say thank you to Jennifer Fasking and her team at State Farm that's been coordinating that with Dr. Warner. The second is Lake Gibson High School audio group, which is their choral department, let me hang out with them on Valentine's Day to deliver singing telegrams. And it is everything that is right in our world. Getting to watch these teenagers sing love songs or songs of friendship to different people throughout the community. We got to deliver some, thank you, we got to deliver some to the district office, which was really fun. I'm sorry, Superintendent Hyde, that you were on a phone call and did not have time for our love on Valentine's Day, but we'll get you next year. Wendy got to join us, so. I just want to give a huge shout out to Ms. Linhart and the Lake Gibson High School's audio group because they do a great job. And that concludes my report, and we will move on to our non-agenda item comments. So, just as before, all speakers will be given 3 minutes. The clock will give you a warning sound when you have 1 minute left and when you have 30 seconds left. Please note that although the board encourages community participation, no immediate action will be taken on items presented during this portion of public comment. If follow-up board action is required, then the matter may be placed on an agenda at a subsequent meeting in accordance with school board policy. So first on deck will be Reverend Lynn Garner, and then up next will be Anna Rivera. So Lynn Garner.
Good evening, Lynn Garner from Lakeland. A high school friend loaned me a book about Christine Jorgensen, the first person I'd ever heard of who had had what was then popularly called a sex change operation. I also read in those days a book which I believe I picked up at the local 5 and Dime, Man-Child in the Promised Land by Claude Brown. It was a tough-talking autobiographical novel about growing up in Harlem and a book that had a lasting influence on this suburban white girl. Both of these books taught me about a world beyond my door, and I don't think that either made me any more sinful or corrupted than I had been before. Man-Child has been on banned book lists. Since we're talking books, I might as well quote Faulkner here. The past is never dead, it's not even past. We all care about our children. We want them to grow up to be happy and successful. In order to do that, however, they need to begin to learn about the world outside their doors in an age-appropriate way. Newsflash, teachers don't go into the profession because they're eager to make the big bucks, nor because they can't wait to corrupt young minds. They spend long hours learning education techniques and subject matter. Teachers also have inquisitive minds that want to impart a curious love of learning to their students. Our children come to us in all shapes and sizes, in all colors and gender orientations and sexual identities. All children need to know that the body and mind that they are growing into is sacred and okay. I'm afraid that some people want to shield children from reality and keep them in an artificial magic kingdom. I'm happy that the sexuality education program seems to have come to a successful compromise. However, that and the book banning, not to mention the false narrative of critical race theory, have a more ominous agenda. I'm deeply concerned about LGBTQ children and youth of color growing up in a community and state that sees them as less than those of us who are white and straight. The dog whistle of CRT is all about that. Some would deny that American history has been full of atrocities as well as great steps forward. I have 5 Mayflower ancestors, 3 of whom survived the first winter. That means that there's a good chance that some of their descendants participated in King Philip's War, which decimated the Native American population of New England. Also among my ancestors was a slave owner in Connecticut. Another ancestor, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, was one of the foremost advocates for women's rights in the 19th century, yet she openly expressed racist sentiments. I call these ancestors the saints and the scoundrels. The truth is that they and all of us are mostly a little bit of both. Our children need to learn the truth about American history, not the lost cause version. Reading Toni Morrison is one way to learn these difficult truths. Banning books stifles minds and impedes our children's ability to cope with a complex world that they will enter. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Anna Rivera, and on deck is Nancy Simmons.
I'm Ana Rivera, founder of the Puerto Rican Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and I was raised in the New York City educational system. And I have something of the books that I was required to read. In Fahrenheit 451, books were banned in an attempt to keep society happy, or so they were told, believing that if people did not have to form opinions for themselves, there would be less conflict and society would be happier. In the years since its publication, Fahrenheit 451 has occasionally been banned, censored, or redacted in some schools at the behest of parents or teaching staff, either unaware of or indifferent to the inherent irony in censorship. The overreaching theme of Fahrenheit 451 explores the struggle between man's desire for knowledge and individuality in a society that expects ignorance and conformity. What is the moral of Fahrenheit 451, you ask? Fahrenheit 451 is explicit in its warnings and moral lessons aimed at the present. Bradbury said it best, believed that human society can easily become oppressive and regimented unless it changes its present tendency toward censorship, suppression of an individual's innate rights. Now, my mother signed off on these books that I had to read, and I'm going to age myself. This was during 1972 through 1976. And these books were, like I just mentioned, Fahrenheit 451, A Raisin in the Sun, The Catcher in the Rye, Diary of Anne Frank, To Kill a Mockingbird, Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, and Mein Kampf. I came out all right. I think I'm okay. And my son was raised in Polk County. He started in St. Anthony's and ended up graduating from Harrison. And we shared 3 books together during his high school years. That was 1984, The Color Purple, and of course, the Harry Potter series. So, thank you. I think that book banning is it's not only bad, it's counteractive. Our children need to learn how to think for themselves and decide as well. But as parents, we will guide them, but we will allow them to be them. Because once we're gone, they're the ones who take over and do what's best for their children and the children after that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Simmons? Nancy Simmons. And then on deck will be Cassie Gibson.
I'm Nancy Simmons. I'm from Winter Haven now. I want to commend you first before I say anything else. I spent the weekend researching school board policies throughout Florida. And your website is so far superior to any of the others that I tried to navigate. At one county, I could never get the whole manual. It was unbelievable, but yours was very easy. So thank you for that. I'm sure the public likes it. You've got a terrible job right now. It's worse than usual because there are a lot of people that are mad at government, and you're the government sitting in front of them. So I'm sorry that you're going through this. But when I looked at, I need you to understand, maybe we've all forgotten this, that school board policies have the same weight in law as statutes. And when you have a policy, you have protection. And the better the policy is, the better your protection. And there were things that when I went to look at your policies, they seemed sort of generic and vague. And then I looked down at the bottom and I saw this word Neola. And I looked them up, and there are one-size-fits-all policy people out of Indiana, and that's probably the problem. So I went through the policy, and there are 3 things that need to be strengthened in it, and I've got them written out here that I would like to pass out to you. One of the things, I'm sure Ms. Fields remembers, there used to be something in that policy 6130 that said that the principal would pick out the members of the review committees the first of school each year. And that saves you a lot of grief, because then nobody can come back and say, well, you picked a policy just because you didn't like me or you didn't like my book. No, the policy the review committee would have been picked at the beginning of the year. And I think that's important to put that back in there. And I think it's important for the board, because you're the policy people, to make everybody follow your policies. If you do, everything will be much better for you going forward. So I want to say one more thing. If you don't follow the policies, then other people think they don't have to either. And I've already heard the rumor that an employee has removed some more books from a middle school library. So I just beg you, please follow your policies. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Simmons. And if you'd like to hand those to Mr. Bridges, he can pass them down to us. If you want to hand your papers to Mr. Bridges, he can pass them down. Thank you. Next is Cassie Gibson. And then on deck is Bob Nickel. Cassie Gibson. All right, and next is Bob Nickel. And then on deck will be Yannick Williams.
Good evening. My name is Bob Nickel. I'm with a group called Polk Parents for Education. I'm also an ESE inclusion teacher at Boone Middle School in Haines City. In her 1994 book, Quiet Strength, Rosa Parks wrote, "I had no idea that history was being made. I was just tired of giving in." Here in Polk County, we are tired of giving in. We do not want books to be banned in Polk County. We want actual American history to be taught in Polk County. There are things that happened in this country's past that make us feel uncomfortable. 6-year-old Ruby Bridges being threatened and heckled, all because she wanted to go to school in Little Rock, Arkansas. Addie Mae Collins, Cynthia Wesley, and Carol Robertson, all only 14 years old, along with 11-year-old Sarah Collins, Addie Mae's little sister, all died when they were changing into their choir robes when a bomb exploded at the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama. And perhaps the biggest stain on our history, slavery, where people were kidnapped from their homes in Africa, thrown into the bottom of a ship, taken halfway across the world to America, and forced to work on plantations for no money. These events should not be whitewashed. They should be taught by teachers in classrooms. Books should be written about them, not banned. We should learn from our mistakes so as not to repeat them. As Toni Morrison wrote in her Pulitzer Prize-winning book, Beloved, which some people want to ban, "Me and you, we got more yesterday than anybody. We need some kind of tomorrow." Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nickel. Yannick Williams. And then on deck will be Nicole Young. If you could just say your name for the record.
I'm Yannick Williams, a literacy teacher and Jamaican native with the amazing opportunity to be a part of the TPG Cultural Exchange Program. For the past 6 months, it has been both an honor and a complete joy to be a part of Polk County Public Schools, and more specifically, the McLaughlin Middle School family. If you are here with us from McLaughlin Middle School, please stand or wave so we can see you. The faces present in this room today is only a fraction of the incredible support system we have come to know through our visa sponsors and our school family, and for that we are grateful. The choice to join the TPG Cultural Exchange Program was an easy decision, not only because I would be closer to my home country, but also because of the way in which the program was presented to me. You see, this being my second cultural exchange program, having spent 3 years teaching in Europe, I was quite familiar with being left to my own devices and having to find my own balance in a country where the culture was significantly different and the language barrier was overwhelming. However, with TPG, even before arriving here in the United States, I felt cradled, protected even, because of the frequent check-ins and the supplementary information they provided to make my transition a smooth one. Our representative Ailsa drove around Polk County all summer long, scouting available housing and conversing with owners and managers so we could maximize on lodging accommodations. Another thing I found extremely considerate was that our insurance took effect the moment we stepped off the airplane, and that made me feel safe. We were placed in hotels upon arrival, given a driver who took us to various locations to get work documentation done, shopping, fingerprinting, among other things that would help us get settled. Additionally, we were provided financial supplements to aid us in transitioning if we did not have enough funds. This, we could repay interest-free over time to not be a burden to us. Throughout the past months, we have been checked in through different mediums and have been engaged in various webinars and meetings from TPG that have not only helped in our transition culturally, but also in enhancing various aspects of our teaching life, like classroom management and varying teaching skills. We were also given various ways to acquire transportation, both through a TPG affiliate and other car vendors and financing agencies. To be honest, the transition to teaching here in Polk County was not the easiest of processes. We had to become familiar with the way of life here and a new way of doing the one job that we had almost perfected back home. The truth is that we could not have done it without you, our board, our school families, and the proactive, hardworking team at TPG. Thanks to you all, we have not only been able to share our culture with the amazing students, but we are learning so much from them, and we're happy that we can mold them to be positive movers and shakers of the American society. Thank you.
Next is Nicole Young. Next is Nicole Young, and on deck is Alexandra Young. Nicole Young.
I apologize, that's a typo. I'm Nicole Fosmo.
Oh, sorry.
Reading interventionist at McLaughlin Middle School. So it seems tonight's topic is diversity. Diversity is a strength, a challenge, and important enough to be protected. And that's why we're speaking today, to protect our teacher exchange program that is a part of our school now. Not just for our students, but for our schools and teachers. I cannot speak about all exchange teachers, but I can speak about the ones at our school because I have been in their classes, I have planned with them, and I have seen their impacts firsthand. I'm able to do my job to support small group instruction because these fine teachers have filled vacancies at our schools. I applaud the foresight and innovation of you, the school board members, to reach out for that diversity that enriches our district as a whole. I have seen Mr. Angelbert, Ms. Brown-Gale, and Ms. Williams overcome challenges and add to the strength of our school. These teachers have made impactful connections that will last for the students, the staff, and our community. These teachers come to school every day and challenge themselves and our students to rise above the obstacles and be the best that you can be. They grow their students and make connections with them that go far beyond just the school day. Each of these teachers have gone to basketball games, volleyball games, and soccer games for their students, not as a teacher obligation, but for a cheering fan and to support them. These teachers stay after school to tutor their students because they know they need the support and cheering for their academics too. They engage their students to reach them on their level and take the time to get to know them, to find out what motivates them to work harder. They have made those connections with students, and these connections have made the students grow. These teachers have also made connections with our staff. They have overcome obstacles with learning the standards, the lesson templates, and have synchronized their educational knowledge with our own, adding to the accumulation of knowledge within our collaborations, making us a stronger team. They have each been awarded Teacher of the Month for their own dedication and contribution school-wide. Mr. Angelbert was just recently recognized as a rising star from the district. They have provided wonderful food and gifts for the staff to show us appreciation, or maybe they're just showing off how good they cook. They have made lasting connections to teachers, and those connections have made our school grow, and I am sure that this is just the beginning. These teachers live in our communities. They have met our students and parents while walking to school and while shopping. They support community events and add to the diversity of our county. They bring with them the laughter and joy of their culture to ours, and they make our community grow. These connections and diversity should be protected and grown, just as these teachers have become an integral part of our team and have grown us. And as you can see, McLaughlin has come in full support of them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And next is Alexandra Young, and then on deck will be Angelbert Mariano.
Good evening, Superintendent Hyde and board members. My name is Alexandra Young. I'm a student at McLaughlin Middle School and Fine Arts Academy. I started this year as a 7th grader, and it was my first year at McLaughlin. It has been an amazing year. Mrs. Brown-Gale is my advanced language arts teacher, and she is from Jamaica. Mr. Angebert is my advanced math teacher, and he is from the Philippines. Mr. Aingeberg keeps all students in his class engaged and focused with standard-based tasks. He ties his lessons to real-life experiences that help all students retain the learning objectives and achieve academically. He is simply an amazing teacher. Mrs. Brown-Gale is encouraging and nourishing. I look forward to her lessons because she challenges her students as well as shows us just how much she cares. You can always talk to her, and I know she will help me resolve any challenges that I may have. Mrs. Brown-Gale always smiles and says good morning to each student as we enter her class. Mr. Aingeberg and Ms. Brown-Gale are both leaders, and students trust them to support us in achieving our academic goals. I love that they are both very open about their cultures. They explain to the class why they decided to leave their homes to teach students in Lake Wales. They are both passionate about teaching students who are just like me. They are patient with us and will explain it to us as many times as needed to ensure that we succeed. Mrs. Brown-Gale and Mr. Aingeberg communicates with my parents, so they always know how I'm achieving in class. They consistently strive to help me perform to my maximum potential. McLaughlin is a phenomenal school, and we have lots of opportunities under the leadership of the administrative team. Dr. Hudson is just simply exceptional. Our school is changing for the better because Dr. Hudson puts the students first and ensures that her decisions are benefiting us, the students. Dr. Hudson tells us and shows the students and staff how much she cares, and we all realize what an amazing job she is doing. As I reflect on this school year and all I have learned, I realize how lucky I am to have such amazing teachers and staff that care. On behalf of the students and staff of McLaughlin, Sean Fernandez, our student body president, and I would like to present you with a small gift.
Thank you all so much. Thank you, Alexandra. And I'm guessing that was Sean that waved to us from the back and handed out our gifts. Thank you as well, Sean. Angelbert Mariano, and then it'll be Janine Brown. You have a tough act to follow, just so you know.
Good evening, school board. So to my fellow exchange teachers from my school and from other schools, please stand up to be recognized. Thank you so much. I am Mr. Angelbert Mariano, a cultural exchange teacher from the Philippines, and I am currently assigned as a 7th grade mathematics teacher at McLaughlin Middle School and Fine Arts Academy. It was my childhood dream to be an educator here in the U.S. With the sponsorship of TPG Cultural Exchange, that dream was made into a reality. To my visa sponsor, Ms. Sujata Gidumal, thank you for believing in me that I am capable of being a cultural ambassador for my country. To Ms. Elsa Johnson and the rest of the TPG team, I am forever grateful to your undying help and support. Thank you for ensuring that I get settled first before starting my teaching journey in the American classroom. Being an exchange teacher is not easy. Going out of your comfort zones, leaving your family back home to share your passion for teaching and expertise is indeed a big sacrifice. But with my burning desire to experience another culture and do my calling from God as an educator, I condition my mind, body, and spirit to be strong. McLaughlin Middle has been my home for a year now, and thanks to my dynamic and ever-supportive principal, Dr. Deborah Wright Hudson, for welcoming me as part of the Phoenix family. Dr. Hudson, thank you for always recognizing my efforts in serving our students, and thank you for pushing me hard to perform the best I can. I am serving almost 70 7th graders each day, and I still have a fresh memory of my very first day with them, getting their surprised looks, and how they warmly welcomed me as their new math teacher. The excitement that they bring to me every day keeps me motivated to work hard. Whenever I see their 100% authentic engagement in the class when I deliver my standards-based instruction, when I ask them questions that boost their critical thinking and reasoning skills, and their math calculations as fast as they can, makes me the real winner. I always live with the school district slogan, which is students first, by making sure that my students get what they truly deserve. excellent teaching, and learning environment. I am forever indebted to Polk County Public Schools District, headed by the action man himself, Superintendent Hyde. Thank you for having me and the rest of my fellow TPG exchange teachers in your school district. This opportunity to serve your school district means a lot to us. The other experiences that we will be bringing from this whole journey back to our home countries are something that we will treasure forever. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a
Janine?
new name for you now.
I have a new nickname.
Action Man. Thank you,
I will
sir.
say, I have had the pleasure of observing many of these individuals actually delivering instruction each day, so.
Is there a story behind the action man himself?
No,
Okay.
I'm just, apparently now I need to get one of those personalized plates, so.
Absolutely, we'll take care of that.
And we have Janine Brown, and then on deck will be Jo Ellen McPeak.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Janine Brown Gale from the beautiful island of Jamaica. I am a literacy teacher here at McLaughlin Middle School. It was always a dream of mine to return to the U.S. after working here as a teenager during the summer. This dream seemed much more impossible after I got married and had my first child. However, because I believed strongly in getting my desired outcome, I decided to take the risk. It was a simple formula: take the risk and achieve, or don't take it and don't achieve. When I became aware of the TPG program, I immediately started the process. I instantly got feedback from them, and this made my interest grow deeper because of how swiftly they would respond to my messages. The process of leaving Jamaica was smoother than I expected. I arrived in January 2021. At this point, I still had questions and doubts. Most of these questions were questions that no one else could answer but me. Janine, is this really what you want to do? With the support I received from the TPG team, my questions and doubts slowly decreased. As I mentioned support, let me share some of the great support that I received from the program sponsor. I was given explicit instructions on where to find my hotel shuttle bus when I first arrived. I stayed at my hotel for 4 nights, which was paid by the TPG program. During this time, I was assigned a driver, also by the program, who took me to get groceries, to open bank accounts, and also to the district to complete my onboarding process. Subsequently, I arrived at my home school. Arriving there was nothing short of an amazing experience. I felt welcome the first day I walked into that building. After that first week, I found my apartment. So, after getting over one hurdle, I met the students. The culture shock started here. I thought I would have to leave at this point because I said to myself many nights, Janine, are you made for this? I questioned myself. However, as stated earlier, TPG was again there for support, and they would have webinars to support teachers who needed help. My literacy team was also influential in my growth. All the kind words and overwhelming support have not gone unnoticed. This current school year has been great so far. I have seen how my students have changed both in their attitude and their behavior, this resulting in them making gains in their tests and exams. To wrap up, I decided to take the risk and achieve. All of this would not have been possible without the support of both TPG and my MAC family.
Thank you. Next is Jo Ellen McPeak, and then on deck is going to be Jeannie McCarthy.
I am so lucky to follow such a wonderful series of amazing young teachers entering the profession. I'm so glad they're here. I am here. I don't know why I plan anything because I spend the entire meeting writing all over my plan. So I'm going to go with what I originally wrote and maybe stick in a few things here. But I'm here tonight to address the steps taken in response to a group's threats to lodge charges against our media specialists and teachers, claiming distribution of harmful materials. Beyond the fact that the assertion is baseless, there is a specific procedure to follow when books are challenged. This group didn't want to take the time and would not have received the exposure they did if the policy had been followed. This procedure was ignored, and as a result, you handed this group control over Polk County Public Schools. Understand that the books are not the issue. This group started with masks, then a false narrative of teaching critical race theory, then they went after our sex ed curriculum. Where is it going to end? If allowed to go unchallenged, we will be left with an education system devoid of value, a system that is hostile to critical inquiry and dialogue. We all have a stake in what is happening here, and we can no longer let a small but loud group silence our voices and control our schools. Parents have the right to know and limit their children's choices. However, no person should have the ability to limit others' choices. I will leave you with the words of NCTE, National Council Teachers of English, on the student's right to read. The right to read, like all rights guaranteed or implied within our constitutional tradition, can be used wisely or foolishly. In many ways, education is an effort to improve the quality of choices open to all students. But to deny the freedom of choice in fear that it may be unwisely used is to destroy the freedom itself. For this reason, we respect the right of individuals to be selective in their own reading. But for the same reason, we oppose efforts of individuals or groups to limit the freedom of choice of others or to impose their own standards or taste upon the community at large. The right of any individual, not just to read, but to read whatever he or she wants to read, is basic to a democratic society. This right is based on an assumption that the educated possess judgment and understanding and can be trusted with the determination of their own actions. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeannie McCarthy. And on deck is Weissel Doker.
I am Jeannie McCarthy. I am a taxpayer, I am a parent, and I am also a public school teacher for the last 23 years of my life, which couldn't have been spent any other better way. I hate to follow her and then the other group because it's just so amazing to listen to them speak, but I do want to talk a little bit about the book situation, obviously. I guess the best thing I can do is speak from the heart. Anytime we try to deny people information, the next thing all those people are going to do is try to go and run and get that information. Throughout my life, some of the best and most influential people in my life have been my teachers. There have been times when I couldn't speak with my parents. There have been times when someone has encouraged me to go speak to a trusted adult, and that person's always going to be my teacher. And I always want my students to feel the same as me. So when they enter my classroom, I'm going to love my children whether they are any color underneath the rainbow and no matter who they choose to love. Because I am going to teach them no matter what, and I am teaching the 21st century learner. And the 21st century learner comes in all shapes and sizes and sexual orientation. Right now, this is their present. But if we remove everything from the library and from whatever they can read and learn from when they become my age, then we are also taking away kind of their history. Do you see what I mean? We can never learn what they went through as any child if we take away our ability to read it and learn from it and guide them through that process as well. I just really appreciate the impetus of the school board and everything that you guys do to help filter this process. I really do feel like it is up to the parent as an individual, and I am really glad to see that we are going to try to make that process better so that we don't have to worry about people coming in and voicing their opinions and causing so much chaos. But the other thing is if we let all those other people come in with their intentions, then we have to let everybody come in with every intention. So I do appreciate everybody's time, and thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. I'm not even going to attempt it again, so if you could say your name when you get to the dais. And then on deck will be Jane Delph.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you, Veysel Dokur. Thank you for the opportunity. And in fact, I decided to share a little bit my story because this diversity and inclusion and teacher exchange program. I'm a Turkish-American citizen who moved here 30 years ago, and 10 years in New York, 20 years in Polk County. Back in Turkey, in high school, I took this exam with a couple of my best friends, American Field Services Exchange Student Program. This is going back to like 1980s. My best friend, I gave him a couple of tips. If I didn't give him, maybe I would be the one, but I'm happy for him. He came to Washington, D.C. as an exchange student 1 year, he worked there. And a lot of history. One of the things growing in Turkey, I know America, country of freedom, all the stuff, then the news would come. In this town or in this county, these and these books are banned. I'm like, how can it be? Why people would ban? And in America, I can't believe this. And I'm like, wanting to come here, which I came. I'm the American dream, actually. After 30 years, tax-paying resident and citizen, I have a 2-story house, 2 children, 2 dogs, pool house, couple cars, living American dream. But where am I? I'm raising my children in a county trying to ban the books. Unbelievable. What am I gonna do? Here I am, fighting for their right, everyone else's right to the freedom. And the people who are trying to block is our in name freedom fighters. And I'm reading here in the news, really blackmail. It's a blackmail. Hannah Peterson, Steve Mackrell, come like, oh, you are, which one it is? Florida Statute 847.012, which involves distribution of harmful materials to minors. Did really our elected sheriff judge buy it? What did he say about it? I mean, I know he said, hey, you're moving him from north, but watch out don't vote like you voted there. Voter suppression, reproductive health suppression, like what is going on in this country? Who's gonna stand up? Oops, I'm holding the wrong side. No matter what, we are supporting you, school board, because as people speaking before me, it's the 21st century. We need to teach our children accordingly so they can raise their children the next generation. So please do the right thing. And I don't want to read about the Bible sections because it's going to be the same thing. And again, Galileo, maybe I made a mistake. It was Galileo, let's not go to 16th century. Thank you.
Thank you. Jane Delph. And on deck is Joan Sprain.
This is my first time here. I don't know any of you. I am a grandmother, and my name is Jane Delph. I live in Winter Haven. I have a nonverbal 4-year-old grandchild, and he is signed up with the IE plan to get 30 minutes of the speech language weekly. The first half of the year, he got it 7 times, is all. So that's 13 missed. He only got 3 sessions of it so far this year. So that's why I'm here. Because being a nonverbal child, he needs this therapy. He gets the federal government money for this. And I'm begging you to look into it so that my grandson can have a chance. Please.
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Lutz, I just texted him. He'll be following you out afterwards to address it.
Also, when you were talking about the upgrading of the schools, if you could add Bartow Floral to that, it could use a nice little update.
Yes,
but that's really all. I'm just concerned because he is getting the federal money for just 30 minutes. We do things on our own, but that 30 minutes could make a big difference in his life. So
Yes.
if you could do that.
Yes, ma'am. And Dr. Lutz is just behind you, and he's going to follow you out and step out and talk with you about that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Right, next is Joan Sprain, and on deck is Rochelle Greenfield. Joan Sprain. Looks like she's not here. Rochelle Greenfield. Rochelle Greenfield, going twice. Okay. James Hobson. And then on deck will be Justin Sharpless.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Madam Chair, board members, Superintendent Hyde, Cabinet. I just want to introduce myself. I hate to come after all these guys that gave these wonderful speeches. However, I know a lot of you already know the changes that's taking place with ASME 2227. Ms. Burke has had the opportunity to step into a different position to help better our union as a local. And not only is it going to help us better our union as a local, it's going to help other locals to come together as well. My name is James Hobson, and I've been appointed the new president of ASME 2227. I know some of you guys I've already been able to work with, and I look forward to working with the ones I haven't. So with that being said, we represent what I feel is the best people on earth, the best local, the best county in America. And I don't take that lightly. I'm going to do everything I can to stand up, to defend them, to do what's fair for them, and to bargain on their behalf. Our maintenance workers, they're doing amazing work. They're keeping everything in spec, even in the most rapid growth that we've ever seen in Polk County. Our custodial, they're working in unsettling environments selflessly to ensure that our kids have a safe and they have a sterile environment to go to school with every day. Food nutrition. They show up every day and work tirelessly to feed our children. Mechanics, they're keeping our wheels rolling. They're keeping our buses safe. They're keeping all of our employees safe. They're keeping the kids safe. Let's not even think about dispatchers. They're working 9 bands with 2 dispatchers with antique equipment. They need better systems, which I understand are coming in as we speak. But at the same time, that doesn't lessen the stress of what they have to deal with on a daily basis with just 2 people and 9 bands. So bus drivers, last but not least, they're responsible for getting our kids to school each and every day. So for each and every one of these groups, they feel like they're overworked, underpaid, and that they're not represented properly, or they're not recognized like they should be. So with that being said, my goal here is to come in unity with our union, to bargain through our contract, to be able to do everything we can to work with you guys to be able to create a better atmosphere, better pay, better bargaining agreement, and make this place a better place to work and bring more people in and be able to accomplish everything that Polk County is trying to accomplish, which is to make it the best county in America.
Thank you so much. James Sharpless, and on deck is Greg Guy.
Hello, board members. I'm Justin Sharpless from Lake Wales. I want to thank the board and Superintendent Hyde for recognizing all of our, I know last month I talked about Polk County Youth Fair, recognizing all of our students that participate there. It's a very important event for them. They work hard all year. Also, on the district's Facebook page, thank you for recognizing the George Jenkins barbecue team. My little brother is a competitor on the George Jenkins barbecue team, so it means a lot to me that that you recognize him and the team. They placed 7th out of 43 teams, and they were competing against adults, okay? These are high schoolers, and they got 2nd place in ribs. And if you can tell, I don't miss very many ribs myself. I'm about to have a family feud, though, because my dad is the construction academy teacher at Roosevelt Academy, and he's going to start a barbecue team up at Roosevelt Academy, so I don't know who I'm going to be able to root for, my brother or my dad. Hopefully they both win. Also, I want to just recognize this past Tuesday, February 15th, was National School Resource Officer Appreciation Day, and I just want to say thank you to all the men and women who are in our police that take care and keep our schools safe every day for our staff and our students. This month is Career Technical Education Month. February is deemed that. And so I just have a real brief note here that career technical education is a modern approach to higher education and training, and it can accelerate personal and professional successes. With little to no barriers to enrollment with 17 career pathways to choose from, individuals can acquire the skills needed through real-world hands-on experiences. And some of our students, that's how they learn best, is through hands-on experiences. Last but not least, this week, February 19th to 26th, is National FFA Week. And as you all know, I am a product of Polk County FFA. I was a county FFA officer, and it's something that's I hold dear to my heart. FFA, in my opinion, is the greatest youth organization there is. I have personal bias, though, because I kind of went through the program. But I know it helps develop leaders for the future in our agriculture industry. So thank you, board members, and I just wanted to highlight a few things that that you guys are highlighting, as well as maybe bring some other things onto the table that you might not have, okay? So thank you very much.
Thank you, Justin. Next is Greg Guy, and on deck is Reverend Eddie Lake.
I just came to read a poem. I didn't even know you guys were burning books. So, and I just want to say, that's a nice smile. I've never seen your smile in person, but that is a gubernatorial smile, and I'm looking for matches myself if you're in line, so just saying. This is called Broken Banner. It's written by one of my 8th grade students. I'm Greg Guy. I teach at that school which shall not be named, Citrus Ridge Civics Academy, 8th grade. Broken Banter, inspired by, wait, I skipped something. I gotta go back. There's a quote by Frederick Douglass. It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. And that inspired this poem, Broken Banter, by my student Nadia. From blowing bubbles to boiling blood, one life easier than none, in these trenches we sing the hymns of our broken banter, wishing that our children and their children fall asleep to the sound of their mothers singing, and not the booming orchestra of gunshots. Build them strong, because by the time this war is over, we'll be gone. Broken far beyond repair, we leave our posterity in your care.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Okay, Reverend Eddie Lake. Okay. We do not have a card for you. We have to speak. You have to register before the meeting. Thank you. Okay, the cards didn't come up until 5:03, I believe, is when they picked them up, because it was just before the meeting when they brought them to me, so I apologize, but we have to register before the meeting. Next up is Karen Wetzel, and then on deck is Willie Mincy.
It's good. I am Karen Welzel. I live in Winter Haven, and I'm not a teacher. I raised 2 sons, and they're both grown, and I have a son or grandson in college, graduating this year. I ran across I don't know who wrote it. I'm not taking credit for it, but it's a letter that's addressed to parents, and I would like you just to listen and think about what this letter is saying. Your child's teacher has reason to be concerned about the appropriateness of what your child is learning outside of school. Because children spend only about 33 hours out of a 160-hour week in school, Your child's life at home and outside of school has much more influence on the person that your child will grow up to be, more so than anything that happens in school. So that teachers can be more responsive to your child's needs, please provide the following for them on a weekly basis: a detailed list of television shows that your child watches, a complete list of the video games that your child plays, a complete list of the social media that your child uses, including links to all TikTok videos and Instagram posts, and a list of their friends on Snapchat, a list of slang terms, including swear words and racial epithets that are used at least once daily in your household, a thorough description of how the relationships among the adults in your child's life are displayed in front of your child, tallies of the number of times an adult in your household has said something uplifting and motivational to your child. I'm so proud of you. I love you. And the number of times an adult in your household has said something judgmental and demotivational. You're a disappointment to this family. Pictures of a quiet space set aside for your child to do their schoolwork. A complete list of the books that you will read to your child, or a list that your child will read. A detailed list of activities you plan to do daily for the remainder of the year. Thank you for your ongoing commitment to showing that your love of your child by providing them with the information that they need in order to adequately provide for your child's education. This information is vitally important so that they will be sure to follow up with a telephone call or set up a meeting with you at the school if they don't receive it. This may seem like a lot at first, but they sure are. It will become a routine after only a few weeks, and they really need this transparency to ensure that your child receives the education that they're entitled to. We would especially ask the people who come here to spread their fear and shout about their freedom to please remember that we all have freedoms, and to allow the teacher and the parents to do their jobs without fear and intimidation. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but certainly not least, Bishop Willie Mincy.
I just want to say tonight to you, Ms. Wyatt, thank you for calling us back to the prayer meeting. And I want you to ask some of these other preachers too to come, because I don't want nobody to think I'm the only preacher.
Yes, sir. We appreciate you being here when
But I'm going to stick with you
person.
until my assignment is over.
Yes,
I
sir.
got an assignment, and I'm going to stick with it until it's over. Neopard and 16 books ain't our trouble. That's our children's problem. People don't want to admit to it. They fighting about books and all of that, and the superintendent done said what they're going to do and all that. But these young people, that TikTok thing, they looking at it. And the next thing, don't be fearful. Don't be fearful. You can't be in this battle and be fearful. Perfect love casts out all fear. When y'all go to running scared because of a certain group, we in a messed up world. I told you all this some time ago. Our governor have done everything imaginable, and y'all support him. But I know who I serve, and I know who I worship, so that's why I'm worried about that. I don't worry about that. Because when the time comes, according to what I read, he put men up and he take them down. So he has a season. He has to do what he got to do. But the problem is that we, as somebody said earlier, it would be wonderful if we could find a way that we could, I believe Mr. Wilson said, that come to the table and sit down and talk about the problem, because there is a problem. It ain't just not got here. Over 200 years ago, we got into this problem. And you can't erase it. You can't ignore it. You can't say it'll just go away. Your children, my children, all children, is going to find out the real truth eventually from each other. Because if you look around, look at somebody's skin look one color and another skin look another color, and they come out of the same house, questions go to being asked. Somebody stepped out on the outside and done something. Tell the truth. The truth is the only thing that set us free. And I hate to see that we go round and round in this thing every month about something. Tell the truth. That's all people need to know is the truth. Then you can get along and move on and get to the place we want to get to and be a successful school district. And our children will learn and they'll get along together. And they do get along. This old folk don't get along. So they like to
Amen. All right, with no further business to come before the board, that will adjourn this meeting.